After 11 years of love, my husband said, "Let's get a divorce. I want to give her a legitimate name." The next day, we walked into the county clerk's office. From that day on, he never came home. All I got were fresh glimpses of them on Instagram. I, in turn, walked away from every shred of support I'd ever given his company, curious to see how far he'd fly on his own. The sky was a clear, bright blue, the sunshine perfect, the breeze gentle. Together, Ethan and I stepped through the entrance of the clerk's office. A puff of wind teased my hair into tangles. Out of habit, he lifted a hand to smooth it. Seeing that, the receptionist who handled marriage certificates smiled and waved us toward a pair of love seats. "Sorry, we're here to file for divorce." At my words, the staff's eyes went round. They exchanged stunned glances. Inside the interview room, the clerk asked the reason for the split. Ethan pressed his lips tight and stayed silent, so I took pity and answered for him. Irretrievable breakdown, incompatible personalities. Everyone in the room knew it was only the polite version. The real reason: Ethan now had someone he wanted to protect at all costs. She was a barista who worked in the coffee shop under his office. He drove her to and from work, kept vigil at her bedside when she was sick, and at the campus gala, under 1,000 pairs of eyes, lavished her with designer outfits and an oversized bouquet, even sponsoring the event because she had a part in it, as though he'd appointed himself her personal guardian angel. My reason for agreeing was simpler. I don't do hand-me-downs, especially not trash. While the clerk studied our slightly faded marriage certificate and gave the usual speech about thinking twice and remembering the good times, Ethan cut in, voice like frost. "I'm very busy, Rowan." Those cold words sped the paperwork up considerably. Half an hour later, we each received our cooling-off period receipt. He kept his jaw clenched. "Serena, where are you headed?" "I'll drive you." Before I could refuse, he strode to the parking lot and pulled the car up. Reflexively, I reached for the front passenger door, then remembered we were no longer husband and wife. Under his unreadable stare, I chose the back seat without hesitation. The car slid into traffic, smooth and unhurried. Even through the rearview mirror, I could see the half-smile that said his mood was soaring. "Please turn the temperature up a notch. I'm allergic to pollen, and the cold makes it worse." Silently, he handed me a travel pack of tissues. He and I grew up together. We'd known each other since we were kids, dated for years, been married 7. He knew perfectly well I wasn't allergic to pollen. "Serena." "Mr. Sterling, call me Ms. Vance or simply Serena." "All right, Serena. I'll be the one to tell both sets of parents about the divorce." Ethan had always liked to take every worry off my shoulders, and today was no exception. He hadn't been that way as a child. Back then he was a scrawny, timid little thing the other kids bullied. I was the playground tyrant, loud, righteous, impossible to scare. Because his mom fed me homemade snacks every afternoon, I felt duty-bound to protect him. One day I climbed onto the kindergarten PA and announced to the whole school, "Ethan is under Serena's protection from now on." That saved his preschool life. He grew up tall and handsome, Riverdale's campus heartthrob through middle and high school. I treated him as a sworn buddy. He insisted on tutoring me in math so we could attend the same college. Eventually I followed him to Riverdale University, where he became the campus heartthrob all over again, and my personal cockblock. With him around, no boy dared come within 10 feet of me for 4 straight years, let alone confess. On graduation day, he led me to the Science Museum dome. A friend in student government killed every light in the building. Only the star projector blazed to life, showing me a sky I'd never seen before. He clasped my hand, his palms soaked with sweat. "Serena, marry me. I swear on my life I'll love you forever." I said yes without hesitation. Now, facing him, I refused just as quickly. "Mr. Sterling, that's my business. I'll handle it myself. No need for favors." My icy politeness made his brows knit. When I stayed silent, he gave a soft, mocking laugh. "Serena, don't tell me you're getting cold feet." Only then did I look up from my phone. "Could you keep your eyes on the road? I'll explain things to our parents in my own way." I had no intention of dying in a crash with my brand new ex on day 1 of single life. My obvious brush-off tightened his grip on the wheel. The car's Bluetooth suddenly rang out with a saccharine love song every teenage girl was humming. Without apology, he answered, the caller's sugary voice filling the cabin. She whined that she had classes all day and a coffee shop shift tonight. Her stomach was growling. Ethan flicked a glance my way. Seeing no reaction, he smiled into the phone. "Hungry, baby? I'll bring you shrimp congee and crab roe dumplings right now." After they finished cooing, I pointed to the intersection ahead. "Drop me here, thanks." The black sedan barely kissed the curb before it sped off, impatient as a schoolboy late for a date. Only when it disappeared did I clutch my abdomen, cold sweat drenching me, knees buckling toward the pavement. 2 months earlier Ethan had phoned, saying he'd forgotten an important file. I grabbed it and raced toward his office. A speeding truck lost control, jackknifed and crushed my car. I survived, but my left leg was shattered, the bone in fragments. In pain and terror that I might never walk again, I called him over and over. His phone stayed off. Later I learned that the moment his new girlfriend said she'd never seen Paris pigeons, he'd bought 2 tickets to France. He spent a whole week showing her around Paris. I didn't tell my parents because I didn't want them to worry, so Lindsay was the one who stayed with me through the procedure and the rehab that followed. In that moment I decided the useless man was no longer mine. I went home alone and made myself a simple lunch. I had just finished eating and was slowly clearing the dishes when Lindsay's WhatsApp popped up. "Serena, you two aren't even officially divorced yet, and he's already parading the mistress around in public. Does he have no shame?" Her message included a photo of Ethan and a young girl clinking glasses in a couple's booth. It was the very restaurant where I'd once texted Ethan that I wanted to eat with him. He'd turned me down with the usual "too busy." A sudden wave of nausea clawed at my throat. In a flash of clarity, something clicked. The next morning I got up early and went straight to the hospital. The doctor looked at my blood work and said, "Congratulations, Ms. Vance, you're 13 weeks along, 3 months." I was quiet for a moment. "Please schedule the procedure for me." The first few years of our marriage, Ethan had wanted to glue himself to me day and night. We both yearned for a child. Yet year after year, with neither of us showing any medical issues, it simply never happened. Now that we were splitting up, the baby had finally decided to arrive. "Tough luck, little one. You picked the worst possible time." As I stepped out of the exam room, I saw Ethan and his darling Chloe standing right there. The hand holding my purse clenched involuntarily. The divorce wasn't even finalized and Chloe was already pregnant. Her first reaction was to duck behind Ethan, as though 1 second's delay might cost her her life. Ethan's brows knitted into an accusatory knot. He probably thought I'd followed them. "What are you doing here?" Before I could answer, he barreled on. "Serena, let's keep this amicable. Chloe's health is fragile. Trailing us like this could scare her." His words confirmed my guess. "Look carefully, I was here first. And this is the OBGYN ward. Don't tell me your little girlfriend's expecting." "Ethan, we're still married, remember." I turned to leave, but someone called my name from behind. I glanced back to see a handsome man in a white coat striding toward me. Ethan's eyes turned arctic. "Who is he and how do you know him?" The man ignored Ethan, stopped in front of me and asked how my leg was healing, whether rehab was going well. I smiled. "Thanks to Dr. Shaw, I can walk almost normally again." Ethan suddenly grabbed my shoulders. "What rehab? I thought it was just a light scrape." "Why would you need rehab?" All Ethan had heard from his secretary was that I'd been hurt, and he'd assumed it was nothing serious. It never crossed his mind that I might be badly injured. If he'd bothered to notice how long I'd been hospitalized or watched the way I walked, he'd have known it was far from a light scrape. But ever since the accident, he'd been either buried in work or wrapped up in cozy rendezvous with Chloe. No spare energy to observe me. "My leg is none of your business," I said coolly. "Don't forget, we're in the middle of a divorce." Ethan's face darkened visibly. Suddenly Chloe began to wail at me for no reason. Her tears fell like pear blossoms in spring rain, making me look like the aggressive villain. "Avery, I've always wanted to say sorry. I kept begging Xiling to cherish you and treat you well. Everything that's happened is my fault. If you want to hit me, curse me, do anything to me, I'll accept it." Facing her stagey apology, I stayed utterly placid. "First, I'm an only child. Second, this isn't a movie. No matter how well you act, you can only fool Ethan. Third, your acting is actually pretty lousy." Seeing me unmoved, not lunging at her as she'd hoped, Chloe stiffened slightly, then clutched her lower belly and turned to Ethan with the picture of grievance. Undisguised heartache flooded the man's eyes. He slowly pulled her into his arms, wiped her tears, and lectured me. "Serena, there are still 29 days of the cooling-off period. You know my temper. Don't try anything. If this turns ugly, you'll be the one left humiliated." After Ethan led Chloe away, Dr. Shaw came to my side. "Serena, are you okay? People are like that. When you face everything alone, you feel nothing, but the moment someone shows concern, the bottled-up bursts." Wearily, I looked at Dr. Shaw. "Could I ask you for a favor?" Before I could say what, he had already agreed. With Dr. Shaw's help, the procedure was completed that same day. As I was wheeled out, I thought I glimpsed a familiar silhouette, but I was too weak to think, and the image slipped away. After the operation, Ethan never received another message from me. No calls, no texts. I had once clung to him every minute. Now I was silent as still water. A week later, Ethan, reeking of alcohol, brought Chloe back to what was still our house. He kissed her from the front door all the way to our bedroom, only to find me changing clothes in the walk-in closet. When I was done, I walked up to them. "Excuse me, I need to go out." The air seemed to freeze. Ethan instinctively let go of Chloe, then turned and murmured, "Chloe, wait outside." Chloe shot me a glare, but she obeyed and left the bedroom, sultry and radiant, every inch the temptress. While I turned to pick a bag, Ethan eased up behind me, caging me between the cabinet and his body. "Serena, dressed like that this late? Off to meet some random guy? Who knew cast-off goods could still fetch such a market? Like this? Like what? A blouse and skirt you see on any street. How did that become indecent in his mouth? And cast-off goods? Classic scumbag talk. When had this man grown so shameless? How had I never noticed? I pushed him. He didn't budge. "Fine, time to get physical." I cracked a fierce slap across his face. "Like what? Cast-off goods? Is this the sort of breeding you're proud of? Don't forget, we're only in a mandatory cooling-off period. I can back out any time. So when that day comes, don't blame me for keeping your precious little darling a mistress for life." Before he could recover from the slap, I shoved him away and strode out of the walk-in closet. Back in the living room, I ran into the odious sight of Chloe sipping from a glass. "Serena, you look beautiful. A date tonight? I didn't expect you to bounce back so." She paused mid-sentence. Ethan ground his molars, clearly preparing another venomous remark. I plucked the tumbler from Chloe's hand and splashed the room-temperature water across her face. "If you keep running that mouth, a mouthwash won't be enough. Next time it'll hurt." My phone rang. Face glowing with vindication, I answered and kept walking toward the door. He watched my light-footed exit, face stone-cold, then followed me all the way to the curb. Only when he saw me climb into a silver coupe and drive off without looking back, leaving him in a haze of exhaust, did he stop. "Serena, are you absolutely sure about this?" The man in the driver's seat had an austere face and eyes full of poorly cloaked heartache. "You know me. Once I decide, I don't turn back. Adrian, will you help me?" I stared straight at him. He gave a soft chuckle, gripped the wheel tighter, and, eyes on the road, answered in a gentle yet resolute voice. "You already know, Serena, I've never said no to you. I'm in." We stopped outside a familiar lounge. I stepped out, pushed through the door, and headed into a private room already buzzing with chatter. "Serena, you're late. We've been waiting forever." "Right, this bash was your idea, so bottoms up for the delay." I slid into a chair, laughing, and accepted the penalty without protest. These people were my capital, my network, the reason Ethan's startup ever took off. Every soul in this booth had stayed in my orbit for years. Friends from high school, college mates, later clients we'd met once Ethan began building his company. One common thread: every seat held a current or former client of his. Each was a cash cow client he couldn't afford to cross. Even the ex-ones carry enough industry clout to make him quake. When the small talk felt right, I laid out why I'd gathered them. "I'm divorcing Ethan." The room fell silent. Only whatever song someone had cued kept warbling. "Once upon a time, someone loved you for so long." Perfect timing. Someone scrambled to mute the lyrics. "Come on, you two dated forever, married 7. They trailed off, remembering the 7-year itch. I shrugged. "He cheated. We filed last week. His Chloe is pregnant." An uproar, curses, vows of revenge on my behalf, but I no longer cared. I simply wanted to see him stripped of me. Not so much revenge, more an experiment. If he'd never had my help, what would he be? Still a star or another nobody? I intended to watch. Up to now his company survived thanks to you. Starting now, cut him off. They agreed easily. Every favor they'd ever extended was for my sake. Back when Ethan was a junior, he and a roommate coded a casual game in their dorm. A mid-tier publisher offered to buy it, terms they rejected out of arrogance, so they launched their own studio to build bigger titles. The first months were bliss. They focused on code, convinced that equaled progress. Once the game neared completion, reality kicked in. Revenue required promotion, platform launches, licensing deals. Every step meant pitching to prospective clients. Engineers to the bone, they'd rather have teeth pulled than negotiate. Ethan walked around with a permanent frown. Though he tried to hide the stress, I could taste his panic. I hated seeing him like that, so I told him to stick to coding and leave the rest to me. At first he refused, insisting he'd manage. He even promised I could graduate, marry, and lounge in riches. I didn't argue. I let him flounder. Cash kept bleeding. The worry lines deepened. One day, he finally asked if I'd approach partners about getting the game on stores. I said yes. Truth is, after our earlier talk, I had already scouted prospects, due diligence done. With my network and reputation, his game hit every major platform in record time. From that point, the company graph shot skyward. By the year after graduation, our first married year, gossips crowned him a new tech prince. I continued handling press, Twitter trending topics, deal-making, everything public-facing. In thanks, he handed me 1/6 of all shares. My first order of business before friends freeze Ethan's pipelines is to unload those shares, late, and they'll be worthless. The night word of my sell-off leaked, Ethan rang. His roar nearly shattered the speaker, as if I'd committed a felony. Serena, who the hell told you you could dump shares without me? How dare you? I studied my manicure, unimpressed. I tossed you aside. Why would I keep babysitting your company? He spat incoherent fury, but had zero leverage. Eventually the fire sputtered. Fine, sell. Name your price, I'll buy them. Oh, Taylor, I won't rob you, market rate it is. But that's only for the shares, marital assets stay as agreed. All cash, cars, real estate split 60/40ths my way. My words were followed by 2 seconds of silence on Ethan's end. I don't have that much on hand right now. Here's what we'll do. Sign your shares over to me, and every cent we earned while married is yours. The proposal startled me. I started running the numbers in my head. No deal. Your 40% isn't nearly enough to buy my stake, and let's not forget how much you've already blown on that Chloe of yours. I can absolutely claw that back. Serena, don't push it. Know when to stop. His growled warning only made me shrug. Come back with a better offer, or I'll sell to someone else. Fine. On top of all the marital assets, I'll throw in the 3 downtown penthouses I bought before we met. Satisfied, I let a small smile tug at my lips. Then thank you, Mr. Sterling. I'll come to the office tomorrow to sign. 2 weeks later, early one morning, I stepped inside my apartment and froze. A man was sitting on my sofa. Instinctively, I flinched. It was Ethan. He looked like he hadn't slept, his white shirt badly wrinkled, his eyes dark and unreadable. Ethan snarled, Serena, what the hell did you do to Chloe now? His voice came out hoarse and ugly. The sound startled even him. I haven't done a thing, and even if I had, it's none of your business anymore, I said flatly. His face darkened further. Where were you all night? He demanded, sounding like a cop grilling a suspect. The tone grated, and I rolled my eyes. Whether I come home is no longer your concern. Just as I turned to head for the bedroom, his icy voice stopped me. Serena, this is my final warning. Keep your friends away from Chloe. My patience has limits. That instantly told me what this was about. Lindsay is a celebrity barista. A couple of days ago, to vent on my behalf, she'd marched into the cafe, asked in front of the entire staff and every customer for a drink handmade by Chloe, and after one sip critiqued everything from grind to temperature to technique. Chloe fled in tears and almost stepped into traffic. My verdict was simple. Lindsay was just doing her job, and Chloe runs to you? Thin skin much. I beamed at Ethan's thunderstruck face and added, my patience has limits too. This apartment is premarital property, mine alone. At 3 this afternoon I'm having the locks changed. Pack your stuff before then. Anything left becomes trash, and you really don't want to know where it'll end up. I walked into the bedroom and slammed the door. When I came out later, he'd stormed off. Next day Lindsay called, thrilled. There's a class reunion next week. Unfortunately, I already have a business dinner that night. When she heard the venue, she declared the reunion would be held there too. After she swore Ethan wouldn't show, I agreed to drop by. But the moment I walked in, I saw the cheating pair. Chloe clung to Ethan's arm like she had already been crowned Mrs. Sterling, smugness dripping from every pore. Back in college, Ethan and I had been the golden couple everyone talked about. Our wedding right after graduation was campus legend. Now he paraded the mistress in front of old classmates and professors, glued to her side. The expressions around the room soured. My rapport with the faculty and alumni was always stronger than his. I had no idea where he found the nerve to flaunt her here. A professor came straight over. Serena, what's going on? Professor, Ethan cheated, that woman on his arm. When I found out, I filed for divorce. We're in the cooling-off period. Gasps and exchanged glances rippled through the room. People chatting with Ethan and Chloe suddenly turned cold. I have zero shame about being divorced. Today I intended to nail Ethan and Chloe to the pillar of shame and set it alight. Ethan hadn't expected me to say it outright. He glared, eyes bulging. I gave him a polite nod, then turned to laugh and talk with professors and classmates. When the time felt right, I excused myself, my clients were waiting. Outside the private room, someone grabbed my arm. I spun around. Ethan. Are you behind the mess at the company? Oh, so the wolves were already circling? 30-day cooling-off period. 29 days down, tomorrow the last. Time to pick up the divorce decree. Your company is none of my business. I sold you my shares and pulled out of every project. Trying to pin this on me now? He blinked, apparently shocked that I could walk away so cleanly. I've got work. Oh, and tomorrow's the last day of the cooling-off period. County clerk's office, 10 a.m. the day after. I headed for the other private room, making money beat arguing with him. Inside, Adrian waved. Serena saved you a seat. Come eat. He spoke in an undertone. You're late. Grab some food. Adrian and I go way back. He, Ethan, and I attended the same high school. He was 2 grades above us. Back then the rumor mill said the senior class produced a prodigy heartthrob, so tall and brilliant that Queensbridge University had already snagged him. I'd wanted to meet this legend. During morning exercises my freshman year, the kid behind me stepped on my sneaker, and I went sprawling. Adrian was on prefect duty that day. After he carried me to the nurse, I got his number. We said hi whenever we passed, and because of him I joined the student union, both of us in the publicity department. He the nominal head, me designing posters with the drawing skills I'd honed for years. That's how our friendship started, planning the athletic meets marketing rollout. Because I needed to double-check the poster copy with him, we started talking more often. Chatting with Adrian felt effortless. There was always something to say, no matter how random the topic. Growing close to him was inevitable. Even after he left for college, we never lost touch. Unlike Ethan, who barely spoke unless I dragged the words out of him. If I didn't reach out first, Ethan could go 10 days, even half a month, without a single message. Ethan hadn't even earned the campus heartthrob crown until Adrian had already graduated. The weather the day we picked up our divorce papers was almost identical to the day we'd picked up our marriage license. Early fall, no longer sweltering, not yet bitter. The temperature, the sunshine, the breeze, everything felt perfectly balanced. The moment we stepped out of the clerk's office, Chloe was waiting by the door, practically bouncing on her toes. She hurried straight to Ethan, looking ready to drag him back inside and file a brand new marriage certificate. I, on the other hand, walked toward Adrian, who was waiting for me. When Chloe saw that the man waiting for me was every bit Ethan's equal, no better, her face darkened with resentment. Is that Avery's boyfriend? She already has a new man the instant the divorce is final. I stopped, turned, and strode up to Chloe. The slap I landed on her cheek cracked like a starter pistol. If you enjoy being a mistress, fine. But don't assume everyone else wallows in the same gutter. Control your Chloe. I don't pull punches. Ignoring Ethan's ashen face, I swung away, climbed into the car, and left. In the car I told Adrian, stop holding back. Pull out completely. Until now the sabotage at Ethan's company had been child's play, restrained out of respect for the unfinished divorce. With the certificate stamped, the gloves could come all the way off. Less than a month later I spotted the headlines. Ethan's sales staff had resigned en masse. Operations were practically paralyzed. The new hires knew nothing. Even under ideal training they'd need a month to function. And by then the company might not exist. Another 2 weeks passed. After dinner with Lindsay I drove home, and from a distance I saw a silhouette pacing outside my gate. As the headlights swept closer I realized it was Ethan. Wasn't he supposed to be blissfully playing house with Chloe? What did he want with me? Serena, you're back. Lately. The instant he opened his mouth my head started to pound. What now? Stop. Mr. Sterling, please call me Ms. Vance. What exactly are you doing here? Caught off guard by the interruption, he looked dazed. Serena, the trouble at my company. Did you engineer it? What trouble? Stop blaming me for everything. Do I look like some pathetic punching bag? Seeing my open irritation, he fidgeted like a scolded schoolboy. Mr. Sterling, go home. Since I sold you my shares I haven't touched a single lever in your firm. Don't bring your mess to my door. I unlocked the gate, ready to step inside when his voice followed me. Chloe dumped me. After the company tanked, she cleaned out my accounts and disappeared. She aborted the baby. I've filed a police report. My hand paused on the latch. That has nothing to do with me. From now on, keep your sordid saga to yourself. Oh, and Mr. Sterling, remember the day we ran into each other at the OB/GYN ward? Want to guess what I was doing there? Ethan froze, eyes reddening as the implication dawned on him. No words came. I shut the door, and his final sentence slipped through the narrowing crack. Are we really impossible now? What was he thinking? After everything, reconciliation? I'm no masochist. I never saw Ethan again, only sporadic updates through the grapevine. Ethan filed charges. When police caught Chloe, they discovered she was a serial con artist, sentenced to 20 years. Ethan wasn't her first victim, just the costliest. Platform after platform yanked Ethan's game. Losses mounted beyond estimation. The new hires couldn't secure fresh deals, so the company bled out. Investors fled in succession, pushing the firm toward bankruptcy. Finally, the company collapsed, and Ethan vanished. Later, Adrian told me Ethan had returned to the old compound, spent his last $200,000 on a grave plot, and erected a memorial marker for our child. Well, the baby had never been born, so technically not a memorial marker, I suppose. They say he visits the cemetery daily, insists it was a daughter, has the stone carved accordingly. They say his parents arranged countless blind dates. Yet the moment women learned his previous marriage imploded because he cheated, conversations ended. They say Ethan grew quieter, sometimes going days without a word. They say his parents finally moved away from the compound. They say. Eventually the rumors thinned to silence, and in the 3rd year after my divorce I accepted Adrian's proposal. Epilogue. 1 year later Adrian and I married. The ceremony was lavish. Though I was a second-time bride, Adrian cared nothing for gossip. Stop fussing. I'm the groom and it's my first wedding, so we're doing it big, let anyone dare laugh. Before we dated, who knew Adrian could pout and play spoiled? He'd projected nothing but the polished image of a successful investor. How did you turn so childish? You never used to be like this. I laughed helplessly. Back then I hadn't won you yet. Of course I had to keep up the act. Now you're mine, why pretend? He sounded utterly justified. At the reception I thought I glimpsed Ethan. He stood in a corner, gaunt, the tailored suit I'd once bought him now hanging loose. He clutched a bouquet reminiscent of the one he'd held when he proposed. When I looked again the corner was empty. Maybe I'd imagined it. Thanks for listening to our story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed this video, like and share it with friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales. See you next time.
On our 7th anniversary, my husband took Margaret's daughter by the hand and told me she was pregnant. The child was his. His face wore guilt, but only a thin veneer. Let's get a divorce. Brielle is pregnant. She just graduated, her life is just beginning. I won't let people whisper behind her back. I have to give her a name. I slapped the girl, shouting, "Why? There are countless men in the world." The girl flushed scarlet, yet her voice never wavered. "Sis, your family sponsored me for years and I'm grateful, but love is selfish. I can't give up the man I love just to repay you. Besides, you and Julian have been married all this time without a child. A fortune this size can't be left without an heir." I laughed coldly. Since she enjoys scavenging garbage, of course I'll let her keep it. Only this empire, her unborn brat is still unqualified to inherit it. Julian asked for the divorce while I was carrying the last dish out of the kitchen. Today was our 7th anniversary. I'd planned a sweet night for 2 and had even opened a bottle of vintage I'd kept for years. Never imagined Brielle would show up at dinner lugging an anniversary cake, claiming she'd come to congratulate us. I was startled, but still welcomed her warmly. I'd just set the final plate on the table when Julian, seated across from me, spoke in a low, grave voice. "Stop fussing, sit down. We need to talk." His expression was deadly serious. Brielle sat pressed to Julian's side, lips pink and faintly swollen, cheeks flushed, fingers restlessly turning her porcelain spoon. The atmosphere felt wrong, as if something had already happened between them while I was busy cooking. I pulled a paper towel from the kitchen rack, wiped my hands, untied my chef's apron, and joked, so solemn, like the ethics committee come to lecture me. A flicker of discomfort crossed Julian's face, but his tone stayed calm as ever. "Here's the thing." He cleared his throat, as though the words stuck. After a long pause he finally said, "Stella, let's divorce." I froze, then instinctively answered, "What are you saying?" "We have a guest, aren't you afraid she'll laugh?" Inside I scolded him for joking at the wrong moment. My reaction made Julian's face darken. Glancing at the nervous Brielle beside him, he cleared his throat again and said slowly, "I know this feels sudden. I've been in agony these past weeks, but I don't want to hide anymore." He drew a deep breath and confessed, "Brielle and I are together." Thunder cracked inside my skull. "You're with whom?" My voice shot up in disbelief. Brielle was the daughter of Margaret, who had worked for my family. Her mother had cooked and cleaned for us over a decade to pay medical bills for her bedridden husband. As a child, Brielle was always grimy, scrawny, and small. My parents took pity and paid her tuition from elementary school on. That lasted until my father's factory folded a few years back. After Margaret left our employ, Brielle was already a college freshman. Dad's plant had collapsed under debt, so I kept footing her tuition until graduation. In my mind, she was a sweet kid 6 or 7 years my junior. Fragile looking, never someone who would cross paths with Julian. Staring at the two of them, I couldn't believe my eyes. Yet Julian looked as though he'd steeled himself. He simply laced his fingers through Brielle's and locked their hands tight. He told me, "Brielle learned last week that she's pregnant. The baby is mine." The sheer overload stunned me speechless. Julian still couldn't meet my gaze. He went on, "I know this is cruel, but I won't let my child be born a bastard. We've been married 7 years and you never conceived. My mother nags me daily, the pressure is unbearable. And Brielle is only 23. I'm 7 years older. She's sacrificing her bright future to be with a married man. I can't fail her, and I won't let gossip trail her. I beg you to let go, to give Brielle and me your blessing. I'll compensate you generously in the asset split." His words felt like a sword driven straight through my heart. All these years we had used birth control while we built the business. Later, Dad's factory went under and we were swamped trying to save it. One crisis after another postponed our plans, and Julian knew every detail. Tonight I'd meant to tell him I was ready for a child. Instead, he'd handed me this surprise. Truth is, when rage and speechlessness collide, you laugh. Really? So how much of the empire are you offering me? The company was something we'd forged together. I smiled while my nails gouged crescents into my palms. Julian started to answer, but Brielle grabbed his sleeve, cutting him off. Terrified he might promise me too much. Through tears she cried, "Julian, why didn't you discuss it with me before blurting everything out to Sis? You've made me look like some shameless homewrecker." I laughed again, genuinely curious. How she defined herself. Did she believe the cliché that the unwanted wife is the real third wheel? Looks like every tuition dollar my family spent on her was flushed straight down the drain. Brielle rose from her chair, walked to my side, and dropped to her knees with a thud. "Sis, I'm sorry. No matter how I explain, you'll never forgive me. It's all my fault. Blame me. I couldn't help falling in love with Julian. He's innocent in this." She sobbed, tears streaming, eyes red as a frightened bunny's. I stared at the girl kneeling before me, tearful yet unable to hide the triumphant glint in her eyes, and slapped her hard across the face. I hit her because she had shattered every last shred of my faith. "Horse," I demanded, "why? There are billions of men on this planet." Brielle's face flamed, but her voice stayed defiant. "Sis, your family helped me for years, I'm grateful, but love is selfish. I can't surrender the man I love just to repay you. Besides, you and Julian have been married all this time without a child. A fortune this size can't be left without an heir." Her words shook me so violently I raised my hand to strike her again. Julian stepped between us, taking the slap meant for her. He shielded her with his body, putting distance between us. "Stella, every bit of this is my fault. Yell at me, hit me, leave Brielle alone. She's innocent." That spectacle twisted the knife deeper in my heart. I couldn't help sneering. "She's innocent? So you're saying you forced yourself on her? And she still didn't call the cops, actually wants to have your baby? You two truly deserve each other, scumbag and cheap slut." Brielle's face drained from crimson to chalk, her pale lips trembling. Julian's gaze iced over degree by degree. "Stella, watch your mouth. Show some decency. Brielle is pure and kind, she's nothing like you. To land purchase orders you got wasted with every man in the industry, let them paw your shoulders and waist, who knows what else you let them do. If we're talking cheap, no one beats you." Poison glinted in his eyes as the words he'd buried deep finally burst out. My brain gave a violent buzz, every drop of blood rushing to my skull. Fury burned my reason away. I snatched the water tumbler from the table and hurled it at Julian. The glass grazed his brow and hit the floor, the shatter cracked through the sudden silence like a gunshot. Each needle-sharp shard stabbed my heart, 1,000 arrows at once. "Julian, you bastard." His face blanched, he knew he'd crossed a line and opened his mouth to add something. I swept every dish off the table straight at them. "Get out! Both of you, get out!" I was shrieking. Blood beaded along Julian's brow. He stared at my breakdown, panic and rage mingling on his face. Brielle cowered behind him, dazed, both hands clutching her belly. Julian's eyes bulged. "Lunatic! You're absolutely insane. I have no clue what I ever saw in you." "Brielle's right, you're nothing but a shrew." He grabbed Brielle's hand and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the bang felt like a hammer on my chest, leaving me gasping. Moments later the room sank into stillness. A suffocating, heavy silence, like a shapeless mouth swallowing me whole. All strength drained from me, my knees buckled and I collapsed into the chair. I wanted to cry, but my burning eyes produced no tears. My mind was chaos incarnate. The husband who once spoke only love had ripped off his mask, revealing something nauseating. The girl my family sponsored for over 10 years, who called me sis and swore she was forever grateful, behind my back she'd already slept with my husband. The memory of their clasped fingers made my stomach lurch. I almost retched. I needed to scream, to roar, yet my throat was corked, no sound escaped. My heart knotted so tight my teeth chattered. In the end I'd misjudged them both. We'd survived countless grueling nights together, dragging ourselves from nothing to this dazzling height. I could still picture us in that cramped office, still see how I took on every extra task to cut costs. Yet now he held another woman's hand and told me she was pregnant. My heart hurt. Every bone and vein hurt. When we married, the company was a newborn with zero market clout. We had to chase every lead myself. My family owned a small factory, but it made thermalware for export, totally unrelated to software. None of Dad's contacts could open doors in tech. Julian had pride etched in his bones, he'd never stooped to sales talk. So I became the one who hustled while he handled code and upkeep. Those years, entertaining clients was part of my job. Some sleazeballs who wanted to test me would force a whole bottle of vodka into my hands. But I could hold my liquor better than most men. In business, people usually respect each other, but there's always trash hiding behind I was drunk to grope a woman. Once in a while I'd vent to Julian, after listening his eyes reddened with pity. He'd hug me and swear he'd never let me down. I never imagined the words I'd whispered in hurt would come flying back like boomerangs driven into my heart. The air reeked of food, thick sauce crawled across the floor to my shoes. I didn't move. A shrill ringtone cut through my thoughts. Caller ID, Mrs. Hart. It rang, stopped, rang again, 3 cycles. I finally slid to answer. Her irritated voice crackled through. "Stella, what's with you? I've been calling forever. What do you want?" I had no energy left. "Tomorrow's your dad's rehab session. Don't forget, get there early." The same lofty, commanding tone as always. Mr. Hart had a brain tumor removed 2 years ago. Nerve damage left his left side weak and his speech slurred. He needs rehab twice a week. Julian accompanied him exactly twice at the start. For the past 2 years I've managed everything. Mrs. Hart spends her days at mahjong tables and square dance parks. Every aide she hired quit because she's impossible. In the end I became the chauffeur and caretaker myself. 2 hospital rehab sessions a week, 3 acupuncture trips to the TCM clinic. He's improving, short walks without a cane are possible now. I'm busy tomorrow, afternoon tea with friends. I refused outright. Mrs. Hart exploded. "Tea is more important than your father-in-law's rehab? What kind of daughter-in-law are you? She never used to be like this. She even flattered me once. But after Dad's factory went bankrupt 3 years ago, she decided my family was useless and now I lived off her son." Her manner turned bossy. When I stayed silent she shouted louder. "Whatever you've planned, cancel it. Take your dad to rehab first, handle your own nonsense later." Her tone was pure steel. I sucked in a breath and barked, "Stop saying your dad, my father's surname is Vance, not Hart. Legally, only Julian owes you support. At best I'm a relative, and only while married. If Julian and I divorce, you're nothing to me. Mrs. Hart choked on her own rage. Her voice shook. Stella, just wait. This isn't over. She hung up with a furious click. I powered the phone off. I sat amid the wreckage all night. Ironic, what was meant as a celebration of 7 years of marriage became the backdrop to its collapse. At dawn I called building services for a cleanup crew, washed my face, changed into a dress, and was about to leave for my parents when Julian walked in. He stormed in, shouting at me, "Stella, how can you be so ill-bred? My mother is your elder, how dare you curse her with such filthy words?" I ran the last few minutes through my head and came up blank. I couldn't recall insulting his mother at all. I didn't have the bandwidth to watch his tantrum. I walked straight to the foyer, reaching for my purse and car keys. He stretched out an arm to block me. "Come with me right now and apologize to my mother." I shoved his hand away. "Get lost." Then I pulled my heels from the shoe cabinet. Julian wouldn't let it go. He clamped his fingers around my arm. "Stella, divorce is between the two of us. Don't drag my parents into it, they've always treated you like a daughter. Come to their house with me and apologize, sincerely. Worked like a mule, and they call that like a daughter. So this is how they treat their own girls." Rage threatened to erupt. I seized one stiletto and aimed the spiked heel at his forehead. "I'll count to 3. Let go or I swear I'll ram this into your skull." 1, 2, before the 3 left my mouth, Julian flung my arm away and dodged. He stared at me, still shaky. "You're insane, completely insane. I'm divorcing you, you lunatic shrew." I wiped every emotion from my face and spoke one word at a time. "Fine. I keep 70% of the assets." "No way." Julian's answer rang out like a gavel. "On what grounds?" "Out of guilt I'll give you half, take it or leave it. If you refuse, we battle it out in court." I stared at the man I now loathed. So splitting half the fortune with me is supposed to be his mercy. "Then let's fight to the finish." I grabbed my bag and keys, slammed the door, and left. I drove to my parents' house. When I arrived, no one was home. Lately there'd been too much chaos. I hadn't visited in over 2 weeks. I called Dad and learned Mom was in St. Anne's Hospital, pneumonia brought on by the flu. They hadn't told me, afraid I'd worry. I raced to the hospital, frantic. In the parking lot I ran into Mr. Hart and Mrs. Hart, here for his rehab session. Mr. Hart sat crooked in his wheelchair. When he saw me, his eyes flashed resentment, as though he longed to curse me out. I was speechless. For 2+ years I'd shuttled this old man to Western medicine and acupuncture appointments 5 days a week while his wife and son ignored him. One missed trip and now I'm the villain? Apple doesn't fall far, every one of them is an ungrateful wolf. Mrs. Hart folded her arms and sneered. "Scared now, are we? Rushing over to apologize? Kneel and beg, say you were wrong, and maybe Richard and I will forgive you. Otherwise, don't dream of setting foot in the Hart estate again." As if I crave walking through their gate. I gave her a flat stare and an eye roll. "If your brain's sick, get it checked while you're here. Stop making a spectacle." I turned and strode toward the elevators to the wards. Mrs. Hart cracked, shrieking insults behind me. Minutes later Julian called. I blocked the number. No prizes for guessing his mother had run to tattle. I wasn't in the mood for his lectures. When he was my husband, I'd tolerated his parents for the sake of our marriage. Now he's just a cheating jerk, yet still expects me to kowtow. The elevator shot to the 12th floor, to Mom's ward. When I saw her, my nose stung. "Mom, why didn't you tell me you were sick? It tears me up." She smiled and patted my hand. "Telling you would only add worry. The care here is excellent, the pneumonia mild, for fluids for a few days and I'm fine." Tears spilled before I could stop them. How could it be mild? She'd lost visible weight and looked exhausted. Dad's face was gray with stubble. This was no simple pneumonia. I excused myself to buy something downstairs, went straight to the doctor's office, and learned the truth. A large irregular polyp had shown up on her lung scan. They'd removed it, biopsied it, early-stage lung cancer. The oncologist reassured me, treatment plan set, prognosis decent, keep her spirits and nutrition up. I squatted in the stairwell and cried until my throat burned. Her own daughter hadn't even known. During her surgery and admission, only Dad kept vigil, while I played nursemaid to Julian's father. 7 years of marriage, what had I gained? I wiped my face and returned to the ward, acting unruffled. For the next few days I camped at the hospital. Mom kept urging me to go home, Dad could manage, and a married woman should mind her own household. I wasn't ready to reveal the looming divorce, so I simply said everything at home was handled. My only job now was getting her well. I never imagined Julian would bring Brielle straight to her room. Somehow they discovered the ward number. They walked in arm, I froze, and Mom looked stunned. Julian tried to jerk his hand free, but Brielle clamped on with both of hers. I growled under my breath and shoved them toward the door. Whatever it is, we talk at home, do not harass my mother. Brielle smirked. Divorce isn't a dirty secret, sis. I'm unmarried and unashamed, what are you afraid of? She deliberately raised her voice. I hissed, Julian, drag your woman out of here or I call security. Brielle pressed on. I came for one thing, why should you get 70% of Julian's money? He built the company while you played housewife. Every meal, every stitch on your back came from his paycheck. What gives you the right? You think he's a pushover, but I'm here to stop you. She stood like the wronged wife confronting a gold-digging mistress. From the bed, Mom's voice cracked, Stella, you're divorcing Julian? I whispered, almost pleading, Julian, Brielle, my mom just had surgery, she can't take stress. Can we take this outside, please? Right then, Dad strode out of Ward B. He swept a cold glance over the three of us clawing at one another and understood everything in an instant. His razor-sharp eyes locked on Brielle. She flinched instinctively and snatched her hands off my clothes. Disappointment and frost filled Dad's gaze. After all, Brielle had lived on our charity for over a decade, and now she was the homewrecker. His voice was ice. Is this what your parents taught you? Bite the hand that feeds you and stamp on every shred of decency? Brielle shivered. Under Dad's stare, her face burned scarlet with shame. She muttered a weak defense. Uncle, you can't force feelings. Julian and I love each other. I haven't done anything wrong. As for the money you paid for me, I'll pay back every cent. Dad let out two soft, mocking laughs and ignored her. He turned to me. What are you going to do? The words were cold, but his eyes were full of heartache. I gave a bitter smile. His pregnant mistress just slapped me in the face. What else can I do but divorce him? Dad asked, how will you split the assets? I want 70% of the marital property, I said. Dad nodded. Fair. I put up the startup capital, giving him 30 as charity. Brielle shrieked, on what grounds? That's Julian's company, why should you take 70%? Dad silenced her with another knife-sharp look. She clamped her mouth shut, still mumbling under her breath. Dad raised his hand and slapped her hard. Lower than an animal, that slap is from your mother. Since she never taught you manners, I'll do it for her. Brielle stood frozen in terror. Julian stepped in at once, pulling her behind him. Dad, let's talk. Hitting people isn't right. His tone was questioning but no louder than a mosquito. He still feared and respected my father. Once, to marry me, he had bowed and scraped before Dad, eager to please. After the wedding, Dad had handed over $3 million in seed money. Back then Julian had practically knelt to kowtow in thanks. Dad's voice carried absolute authority. Julian, because you were my daughter's husband, I won't make this uglier than it has to be. Take 30% and get lost. Otherwise I'll spend every dime I have left to make sure you never know another peaceful day. You know I keep my word. If it means we both go down, so be it, I won't let you bully my daughter. My eyes stung, tears trembling on the edge. Julian's face went ashen, but in the end he clenched his jaw and nodded. He knew exactly what lay behind my father's threat. Dad added, bring the divorce settlement tomorrow at the latest. Try any tricks in that contract and you'll regret it. He paused. Oh, and the girl who just promised to repay the money I spent on her? I'll send her an itemized bill tomorrow. Lucky for me, I kept the receipts. Brielle swayed, barely staying upright. Julian caught her before she collapsed. 1 month later, Julian and I picked up our divorce decree. We carried out the asset split exactly as the settlement stipulated. Julian wanted the company. He proposed trading every asset he still held for my equity stake. I agreed. All I wanted was my 70%. He scraped together over $10 million in loans and transfers to buy me out. By then, more than 3 months had passed since the divorce. Julian was renting a shabby subsidized apartment, waiting for his company's profits to float him again. With my share, I bought another villa. I thought I'd sink into grief once we split, but there was too much to do. I didn't have time to be sad. I took Mom and Dad on a trip, then came back to furnish the house, plant flowers, lay sod, every day packed. Riley, half a year zipped by. Near year's end, Brielle gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. I wasn't digging for news, but Julian threw a colossal party, 2 straight nights of galas on the plaza outside their complex, complete with a lion dance crew and influencers. Half the city heard about it. It stirred nothing in me. I was busy planning my own company. After talking it over with Dad, I decided to revive his old trade. We would open a thermal wear plant plus a yoga athleisure line, year-round sales. This time we'd target the domestic market. Dad had decades of factory know-how. I hired him as production consultant. I poached 2 sharp young designers at top dollar and built a sales team, 1 group for e-commerce, 1 for brick and mortar. Offline reps hit supermarkets and boutiques. Online, we wholesaled to streamers and e-tailers, no retail, just bulk dropship. Because the road was familiar, Nova Warm ran like clockwork. The orders weren't the $100,000 deals Julian's heartwear chased, but clothes are daily necessities, run them right and the cash flows steady. Another winter rolled around. A swarm of influencers pushed our thermals and orders exploded. New purchase orders piled in faster than we could list them. Workers cycled in 3 shifts, sewing machines smoked. Just before the holiday, a friend dropped by to pick gift sets for her elders. We brewed gongfu tea in my office while we chatted. She mentioned Mr. Hart had died 2 days earlier. The place reeked, she said. I was stunned, though his stroke had left him frail, his body had been stable. How could he go so fast? Bed sores, all rotten. They say he screamed himself to death, she said. Julian parked him at home and forgot him, moved Mrs. Hart in to help Brielle with the twins. She cooked once a week, left 7 days of food in the fridge for him to reheat. At first he could still move, later he couldn't get out of bed. Neighbors heard him wailing, then silence. They called the cops. By the time officers showed, he was gone and the apartment stank. It was grim. I sat speechless. She went on, and that's not all. Before the old man was even buried, Mrs. Hart had lined up her next man. She'd been waiting for him to die. Her new guy's been around 2 years already. I remembered the years Mr. Hart lay ill. Mrs. Hart hadn't cared, never asked about his condition, just dressed to the nines and drifted out early, back late. Maybe he'd already found someone back then. I guess Julian really takes after his mother. I only half listened to the gossip. It never lodged in my heart. After all, whether my ex-husband's family lived or died had nothing to do with me. 2 more months slipped by. Julian came looking for me. The factory gateman didn't recognize him, so he claimed he was here to inspect goods, registered at the entrance, and strolled in. He tracked down my office. At the time I was deep in discussion with a designer about the new spring-summer yoga athleisure line. Spotting his furtive head poking around the doorway, I snapped, "What are you doing here?" Julian instantly layered on a fawning smile. I told the designer to revise the drafts and come back later. He walked her to the door and quietly shut it. I regarded him with ice in my eyes. The once high-spirited man now looked haggard, his clothes rumpled beyond recognition. "Stella, I'm here to ask a favor." I kept my silence. He gave an awkward chuckle and plowed on. "My company's hit a rough patch. A few big purchase orders expire next month and they're not renewing. They've switched to another software house. Could you talk to them for me? I'm willing to cut my price by another 10%. So that was his play. You can negotiate that yourself. What's it got to do with me? I shot back. Regret crawled across his face. Last year I offended 2 of their project heads. With the market so bad, they demanded I drop my service fee 10%, and I flat out refused. When the contracts ended this year, they walked. Then, one after another, the rest of the major orders all lapsed. I didn't think it'd snowball like this. If I'd known, I'd have swallowed that 10%. These clients were all brought in by you back in the day. Could you help me reach out? I'm on board with the discount now. When the deals close, I'll make sure your cut is more than generous. Utter fool. Over the past 2 years, plenty of software firms have voluntarily slashed their rates. His company isn't some irreplaceable global giant. What pride is he clinging to? I smiled faintly. His eyes flared with hope. I said pleasantly, Mr. Hart, if you're here to order thermal wear, you're welcome. Anything else is off the table. Those clients are no concern of mine, and frankly I'm amazed you dared show your face. Recalling the humiliation he once served me, I reminded him, begging people for deals is gutter work, your exact words. Why would I rush to soil my hands? Julian was almost in tears. I had no patience for his melodrama. I summoned security and had him escorted out. After he left, I opened the order file my hired CEO had just sent and burst out laughing. Long before NovaWarm stabilized, I'd quietly partnered with friends to register a software firm. My name never appeared on the shareholder roll. Its services overlapped almost perfectly with Julian's. Over the last 2 years I'd poached one talented engineer after another from him. Those expiring contracts? I'd been harvesting them one by one. Now he wanted me to intercede, basically begging me to steal from myself. Julian's company filed for bankruptcy liquidation 2 years later. The front doors were sealed with red tape. Even the office desks and chairs were hauled away by the asset lender. By then I'd begun a new chapter of my life. He was a university physics professor, also on his second marriage. Word was he and his first wife parted amicably. She stayed at an overseas research institute, got her green card, and remarried a foreigner. Friends introduced us. He was both wooden and witty, contradictory, I know, but one conversation proves the 2 traits coexist in perfect harmony. We never chattered much. He disappeared into equations while I juggled factory shifts. When a holiday came, I'd shuffle my calendar so we could wander some quiet corner of the world and let him unwind. 2 years after we married, I was pregnant. While my husband accompanied me to St. Anne's Hospital for prenatal checks, we ran into Julian and Brielle. They trotted alongside an ambulance, weeping as they ran. Inside lay a blood-soaked little boy, maybe 5 or 6. The ambulance screamed straight into the ER bay. Once the theater doors slammed shut, the 2 collapsed on the floor, wailing. After my checkup, passing the nurse's station, I overheard staff mention that a 5-year-old had fallen from a building and couldn't be saved. The image of Julian and Brielle pushing that gurney flashed back into my mind. Could the boy have been theirs? Later I learned the full story. Brielle and Mrs. Hart were addicted to mahjong. To keep the tiles clacking uninterrupted, they locked 2 children inside the apartment. There was nothing to eat. In the afternoon, stomachs growling, the kids tried calling mommy, no answer. The boy remembered a TV scene where a kid slid down a tree outside a window to the ground. He decided to copy it. Julian's apartment was on the 4th floor, a big tree stood just outside. The little girl dragged over a stool. The boy hoisted himself onto the sill. His foot slipped, he plunged straight off the balcony. The girl leaned out shrieking, "Brother, brother," until neighbors noticed. Someone called 911 and pried open the door. They found the boy crumpled in the green strip below and phoned 120, then Julian and Brielle. I sat stunned, speechless. A living, breathing child, extinguished by their household's negligence. I recalled the fanfare that greeted those 2 births. The present ending left me heartsick. Later, Julian and Brielle divorced. Custody of their daughter went to Julian. After their son's death, Brielle drifted in and out of catatonia, forever hunting for her little boy. Julian threw his mother out for good, forbidding her ever to return. She ran to her old flame, but his grown children blocked the match. They met in secret at a motel. The man's daughter burst in and caught them red-handed. Mrs. Hart's clothes were flung from the balcony. Staff had to fish 2 forgotten guest garments from the lost and found so she could slink home. After the scandal, rumor said she left town. No one knows where she disappeared. Roughly 2 years later, I spotted Julian once on the street. My husband carried our daughter while I curled my arm through his, heading to the mall for baby supplies. Julian came toward us. His mouth opened as if to greet me. I kept chatting with my husband, cooing at our giggling little girl. I didn't spare him a glance. A muffled sob drifted from behind, but it was faint, swallowed by our daughter's bright laughter. I won't look back. My happiness lies ahead. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends. We look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales. See you next time.
On my birthday, Julian, who hadn't come home once in the past week, claiming the firm was swamped, strode in beaming. "Serena, I've got a one-of-a-kind present for you." Behind him trailed a shy, doe-eyed girl. My first thought was that he'd hired a little nanny to keep me company while I recovered. "Her name's Mia, my new paralegal. She's carrying my child. We agreed, once the baby's born, you raise it. She won't wreck our marriage." When I said nothing, the girl stepped forward and clasped my hand. "Sis, don't worry, I eat like a bird and I work hard. Just let me stay. I know the three of us can make a beautiful life together." The two of them sang the praises of a one-man, two-woman household in perfect harmony. When Mia chirped that we'd all share one big bed and Julian shot her a doting grin, I finally found my voice through the shock. "Then let's divorce. I'll clear out and leave the three of you to it." The moment the word divorce left my lips, Julian exhaled in relief. If I hadn't been staring right at him, I would have missed it. "Sis, I never meant to hurt you and Julian, it just happened. If this baby breaks you two up, I'll get rid of it right now." She clenched her fist and swung at her own belly. "Mia, don't." Julian darted sideways, letting the punch land on his ribs instead. They collapsed in each other's arms, each shouldering the blame. The scene was so grotesque it was almost funny. "What's going on here? Can't even close the door?" Walter's voice cut in. Seeing me standing alone while Julian held Mia, his face darkened. "You animal, what the hell are you doing?" The play halted mid-scene, a flicker of embarrassment crossed Julian's face, but he quickly repeated his earlier speech to me. When Walter heard the baby was already 4 months along, Eleanor tugged his sleeve. "Lower your voice. You'll scare my grandson." Walter was an old-fashioned, stern man who rarely spoke to me. I always assumed he disliked me as much as Eleanor did, yet her words only made him bark louder. "No wonder Julian pulls this stunt, he learned it from you. She claims it's advance air and you just believe her? Don't make a fool of yourself." Mia, cowering behind Julian, quivered at the roar. "Uncle, I had an amnio 2 days ago. The DNA matches Julian's 99.99%. Fearing he wouldn't believe her, she pulled the report from her tote. Eleanor snatched it. When she saw the number, she slapped her own thigh. The Vance line continues. Suddenly gifted with a grandson, Eleanor beamed at me. "Serena, I get it now. The girl wants no title and will let you raise the child. This is a blessing." Black dots swarmed my vision. I'd almost fainted the instant Julian admitted the baby was his. Eleanor's words sent a high-pitched ring through my skull. I knew exactly what Julian was scheming. Back when we were madly in love, we'd signed a notarized pact. If he ever cheated, he'd walk away penniless, but if I filed for divorce, we'd split everything 50-50. After years of building the firm, our net worth was staggering. Julian had strayed, yet he clung to his fortune, so he'd staged this birthday ambush to trick me into saying the fatal word first. "Julian, do you remember why I've been stuck at home for months?" Guilt flickered across Julian's and Eleanor's faces. "I won't consent to a divorce. I know I've wronged you, but believe me, Serena, I love you. You adore children, don't you? Here's a baby with none of the pregnancy pain. Why reject that?" He sounded so righteous, as though refusing made me the unreasonable one. "Fine. No divorce, baby stays, but she leaves." I pointed at Mia, icy calm. At that, Mia dropped to her knees and hugged my legs. "Sis. Don't send me away, I just want a family." Seeing her on the floor, Eleanor rushed over and shoved me hard. "Serena. You can't carry a child, so you begrudge anyone who can?" Even Julian, who'd looked apologetic seconds earlier, frowned. Serena, you used to be considerate. Apologize to Mia, or when the baby's born I'll make sure it never calls you mom. Mia's sobs, Eleanor's curses, and Julian's reprimands tangled into one deafening rope. My mind slipped. I crashed to the floor, skull cracking against the cabinet corner. When I felt warm liquid trail down my scalp I was still conscious. Through the haze I felt Eleanor nudge me with her foot. She's not faking death, is she? Son, should we call 911? When I came to, I was alone in an ER bay. Head pounding, I forced myself up and walked out. A familiar voice made me raise my eyes. Walter was jabbing a finger at Julian. The heavens are watching. How could you stoop this low? The ever-polished Julian now wore nothing but impatience. Stay out of it. Mom's staying to look after Mia. I'll have someone drive you back to your hometown. Walter stormed off. Julian smoothed his expression and strode toward the inpatient wing, phone to ear, never noticing me shadowing him. I watched him breeze into the OB/GYN ward, greeting nurses by name. Emery, you and Mrs. Vance are couple goals, a young nurse teased. Julian chuckled. She's carrying my kid. If I don't dote on her, I'm a lousy father. Those words felt like a fist squeezing my heart. He slipped into a private room. Soon Eleanor's booming voice leaked through the door. Where's Serena? She won't barge in here raising hell when she wakes, will she? Afraid of being overheard, they shut the door. When the nurse looked away, I edged close. Inside, Mia reclined on the bed while Julian fed her orange segments. Eleanor poured her a glass of water without a hint of criticism. They laughed like a cozy little family. Watching Julian gently palm Mia's belly, I instinctively touched the scar across my own. If fate had been kinder, my child would already be in my arms. But to save Julian I'd lost not only the baby but my womb. And the man who once swore lifelong love now cradled another woman, whispering jokes to make her smile. Before a nurse spotted me, I left. I didn't go home. Instead I headed to the firm I hadn't set foot in for months. The moment the receptionist saw me, her face twisted with awkward pity. When I strode toward my corner office, she scurried after me. Serena, Julian gave your office to Mia. The spot on my skull throbbed in rhythm with my pulse, but no physical pain could rival the ache in my chest. Ever since the stabbing 9 months ago, I'd barely set foot in the firm. I never imagined Julian could do so much behind my back in just a few short months. I pushed open the door to the corner office. Every last item had been swapped out. The cabinet that once displayed every honor I'd earned was now crowded with photos of Mia. One picture was half hidden behind another, so I pulled it free. It was a shot of Julian in his bar robe regalia, his arm around a cap-and-gowned Mia. The date stamp read 1 year ago, which meant while I was timing ovulation kits and hormone shots, Julian was already sleeping with her. While I took the blade meant for him, he was probably sketching out a future with her. Serena. Julian burst in, panting. I ignored him and looked past his shoulder at the receptionist, who couldn't meet my eyes. So this was how he'd managed to blindside me. He'd bought the whole staff while I was in recovery. Serena, give me the frame, okay? He kept his voice low, afraid I'd shatter. Watching him cradle a photograph like it was spun glass, I started to laugh. The laugh kept going until tears ran down my cheeks. Julian, if you'd already fallen for someone else, why didn't you just say so? Afraid of losing half your fortune? His face twisted for a second before he caught it. Serena, let's talk this through. Put the frame down first. The more he begged, the less he'd get. When he lunged, I whipped the frame against the wall. Shards exploded. I clawed the photo free, ripped it to confetti, and flung it in his face. Blood from my sliced fingers spattered his eyelids. He squeezed them shut, and when they opened again they were ice cold. Serena, look at yourself, pure psycho. On the day I should have been blowing out birthday candles, I'd taken hit after hit, then come straight from the hospital. I didn't need a mirror to know how wrecked I looked. Anyone could call me a mess, but Julian? He'd lost that right. I said so, out loud. His expression curdled. He slammed the door to shut out the gawkers. Didn't you say you wanted a divorce? Fine, let's do it. Think a public meltdown makes you look good? People only hammer what they fear losing. The one terrified of scandal wasn't me, it was Julian, who knew he had no case. When I stayed silent, he flashed the soft smile I used to love. Serena, it's your birthday. Let's not fight. 4 years of dating, 5 of marriage, and I'd never seen him swap masks this fast. Tell the truth, Julian. Did you stage this circus because Mia's pregnant and you need me to file first? His pupils flickered. Serena, I never wanted a divorce. You know I've sponsored orphans since college, Mia was one of them. That photo was the day we met. After she graduated we lost touch. 6 months ago I ran into her at a reception and got her out of a bad job. I brought her here as my paralegal, nothing more. He called the baby an accident. One drunken night, he said, they'd slept together. He'd paid her to keep quiet, thought it was over. Then last week she'd walked in with a positive test. Serena, I stayed away all week because I couldn't face you. Mia swore she wouldn't wreck our life. I was spinning, said insane things today, and you got hurt again, I'm sorry. He brushed the bandage at the back of my head. This office was part of her payoff. I had everyone keep it from you so you could heal. Serena, I'll have her terminate it right now. Just give me one more chance. If I hadn't seen his mother petting Mia like a daughter, if I hadn't overheard the OBGYN nurse say Julian checked Mia in for 2 days every prenatal visit, terrified she'd miscarry, I might have swallowed every word. The door crashed open. Before I could turn, a slap snapped my head sideways. I dare anyone to touch my unborn grandson. Eleanor had put her whole body into it. My cheek felt twice its size in seconds. Julian stepped between us, blocking her next swing. I barked out a laugh and rammed my fist into his gut. Everyone froze. He wheezed my name, eyes wide. I hooked his jaw with the other hand. Eleanor shrieked and lunged, but I scooped the largest shard off the carpet and held it an inch from her face. Blood ran down my wrist. I didn't feel it. I wagged the glass slowly. Push me again and I'll take you all down with me. I said it softly, almost politely. That calm terrified her more than any scream. Before I walked out I looked straight at Julian. Life's been good so long you forgot who built it? Julian, if you'd confessed the first night you cheated, I'd have called you a man. Now you'd better brace for the bill. His face went gray. Eleanor opened her mouth. Julian barked her into silence. I straightened my shoulders and stepped past every colleague I'd fought beside. Out of the firm I'd built from nothing. I kept going, block after block, until my feet stopped of their own accord. I stood there, dizzy, with no idea where next. Attorney Vance? A hand yanked me backward just as a delivery truck barreled through the red light I hadn't seen. I turned, blinking until the face clicked. Chase scanned me, frown carving deeper. What happened? Where's Julian? You were half a second from a hit and run. I tried to shake him off, his grip was forged steel. Let go, my arms going numb. Seeing me sway, he scooped me up without asking, jogged to the curb, and slid me into the back seat of his SUV. Ex-military habits kicked in, driver's door, ignition, seat belt for me in one fluid sequence. You're pale, bleeding from your hand and head. Save the story for the ER. He'd been my client once, I knew better than to argue. Right then I had no destination, so I let him drive. While the doctor tweezed glass from my palm, Chase stood silent, arms crossed, radiating frost. When the resident listed after care instructions, Chase repeated every word like a bodyguard taking orders. Watching him, Julian's face floated up. I shook my head hard, scattering the ghost. Headache? Both men turned. No, I lied, and managed the first smile of the day. Chase started and stopped half a dozen times while driving me home, then finally said, Jordan, without you I'd never have clawed back most of my losses. My offer still stands, tell me what you need, and if I can do it, consider it done. These last 2 years since his own divorce, Chase had done well. I knew he never promised anything he didn't intend to deliver. I thought about the threats I'd hurled in the middle of a packed office. After a few seconds I looked him square in the eye. Julian cheated while we were married. I want him to walk away penniless. You've got deep contacts, Avery, can you help? After I sketched the situation in a few terse lines, Chase stayed silent for a long moment. Seeing his brows knit, I realized I might be asking too much. You're just. Say it, what do you need me to do? We spoke at the same time. Relief washed through me when he agreed, but I still gave him an out. Julian's dangerous now. If you'd rather forget tonight ever happened, walk away. The creases in Chase's forehead eased. Nothing hard about it, I'm just wondering how Julian could be so blind. I'm a civil litigator, the kind who eats divorce files for breakfast. If the stabbing hadn't chained me to bed rest, Julian would never have dared parade his pregnant mistress through our door and demand a divorce. The weeks I stayed away from the firm gave him and Mia plenty of time to erase every breadcrumb. Even with the airtight fidelity clause Julian once signed, without solid exhibits a judge could still rule against me. I need to amass every scrap of dirt on him, and fast. In my current shape I can't do it alone. With Chase in the game, the impossible suddenly feels doable. We stopped just long enough for me to throw a few clothes and every piece of ID into a bag, then he drove me to my parents' brownstone. You've got stitches in your scalp, rest for a couple of days. Let me chase down Julian. Don't waste tears on that garbage. I nodded, waving my phone. I wired money to your account. Use it for whatever muscle you need to hire. He didn't refuse. The next few days Julian blew up my phone. When I never picked up, he switched to apology texts. I'll take care of Mia's pregnancy, promise. Meanwhile the tail Chase put on her scent footage. The morning after I moved out, Julian ushered her into the marital penthouse, Eleonora in tow. Chase's team worked faster than I expected. Inside 2 weeks they'd dissected Mia's past and located Julian's secret accounts. Every dollar he'd funneled to her in recent months was logged to the cent. He also slid me a list, names of executives at companies Julian advised, people he should never have been cozy with. Surveillance clips showed handoffs of thick envelopes. Julian was on the take. A goldmine I never saw coming. After another call went straight to voicemail, Julian's nerves frayed. He watched Mia parade through the walk-in closet in my silk blouse and slammed the door. I said I'll buy you new things. Put these back, okay? He hadn't meant to bring her here. Mia cooed that she didn't mind, and his mother sang her praises, so he caved. Regret hit the instant Mia crossed the threshold. She gravitated to everything that once belonged to me. Julian knows how territorial women can be. He can already picture my face when I learn my belongings have been pawed through. Mia either didn't notice his discomfort, or didn't care. That first visit, focused on staging her performance, she barely glanced around. Yet the moment she stepped inside, something whispered, "This should all be mine." Furniture, artwork, even the coffee mugs, every detail matched her childhood fantasy of home. We're the same height and build, every garment slid onto her like it was tailored. These days her favorite playground is the walk-in closet. My wardrobe disappoints her only because it skews severe, boardroom armor, not seduction wear. New dresses are nice, but the ones already lived in by me carry extra spice. Maybe growing up an orphan fuels her. Whenever she spots something she lacked, she grabs it. Each stolen piece tastes like victory. Admiring the crisp suit jacket hugging her in the mirror, then Julian's helpless shrug, Mia smiles like a queen. Big deal if I outrank her on paper. In her mind I'm already defeated, man, house, everything. With Julian's affection still warm, a few husky sentences cloud his brain long enough for them to tumble into bed. After he drifts off, she slips back to the mirror, draped in diamonds and couture. Tears shimmer, proof, she tells herself, that God is repaying every hunger she ever suffered. Without Julian, she figures, she'd be some rich man's kept toy. He isn't the wealthiest guy she's landed, but he's the best educated and the most respectful. Once survival is secured, people want more. So after he rescued her once, she decided to claim him. The day he dragged her to confront me, he worried she'd flub her lines, oblivious that the Mia he sees is another act entirely. She rests a palm on her still flat belly. The divorce must be final before this baby comes. No bastard labels for her child. Back in the master bedroom she tickles Julian awake, fingers teasing the most responsive spots. Julian, didn't you say sis inherited a townhouse from her parents? Think she might be hiding there? Go to her, beg if you must. Once our baby is legitimate, I'll stay in the shadows. I just need you to remember me. She doesn't mean a syllable. Mia fully intends to march down an aisle, veil first. She's learned men are wired to chase guilt. The more you surrender, the sorrier they feel. Stop that nonsense. I love you now. The sweet talk with Serena is only damage control. She's unforgiving, and I'll push her to file soon. Mia's lips curl in the dark. She can afford to wait. Derek, the guy who stabbed you, is out on bail, Chase told me while I drafted the petition. A phantom pain flared across my abdomen. Before I knew about the affair, I never regretted shielding Julian. Now, tracing the scar, I feel nothing but stupid. Can you find a way to let that man know Julian and I are getting divorced? One of the companies Julian advised as outside counsel was rife with factional infighting. Professionally speaking, he'd done nothing wrong. He'd protected his competence and the dignity of the law. But the man who lost the power struggle took it personally. Again and again he tried to put Julian in mortal danger. The day it happened, Julian was supposed to drive me to my prenatal checkup. Neither of us imagined the loser would hire Derek to attack in broad daylight. Instinctively I stepped in front of Julian. 2 knives went into me, one after the other. If the hospital hadn't been 2 blocks away, I would have bled out. I chose law because I wanted to use my own strength to defend justice. Now I want justice for myself. I won't dirty my own hands. But I know how ruthless that man is, he'll catch my meaning. Consider it done. No one will trace it back to you. Chase's promise filled me with sudden guilt. I'm sorry for dragging you into this. He looked annoyed. 2 years ago, if you hadn't hunted down that evidence folder, I'd never have clawed most of my money back from my ex. My company's cash flow was dead, my wife was sleeping with my best friend. If you hadn't kept pushing me not to give up, I might not be alive. Knowing he hates it when I treat him like an outsider, I shifted topics. As soon as I finish drafting the divorce agreement, I'll meet Julian. Chase's face turned grave. Once you set the time and place, I'm coming with you. The next evening, Julian knocked on the door of my parents' brownstone. Before letting him in, I texted Chase, then I stepped aside. Come in. I need to talk to you anyway. He walked straight to the sofa he always used back when we were still a couple. Serena, you haven't answered your phone for days. I was worried. If I hadn't seen the clips of him strolling through the park with Mia every afternoon, I might have believed him. I said nothing, just slid the signed divorce agreement across the coffee table. If you're okay with the terms, sign. He pretended to skim it. When he saw that every asset except the marital penthouse was now mine, his face iced over. Serena, this is a joke, right? Expecting that, I tossed another envelope onto the papers. It was the fidelity pact he himself had insisted on the week we married. We both knew the thing was peppered with legal holes, but to convince me he'd never change, Julian had filled every gap and even had it notarized. Imperfect, yes, but not easy to invalidate in open court. He glanced at it, tore it in half, and dropped the pieces. Serena, you're so naive. Staring at this man I no longer knew, I kept my voice level. Tear away. That was only a photocopy. Julian shot to his feet, shouting, Serena. Do you have to burn every bridge? I wiped the spit from my cheek and pointed at the divorce sheets on the floor. Sign and you stay the respected Julian. Choose litigation and I'll expose every bribe you ever took. I know him, status and reputation are his oxygen, money is just numbers. Once the bribery leaks, everything he's built evaporates. He stood silent for a long time. When I was about to lose patience, he moved. He walked over and slowly knelt. Serena, I was wrong. I'll take Mia for an abortion tomorrow, write her a check, cut her off forever. Give me one more chance, please? The same plea, delivered with a completely different inflection. Given a choice between his career and his mistress, he'd picked the career. If he'd confessed the affair the moment it started, maybe I could have forgiven him. But after everything surreal that's happened, every day my name shares a line with his on the marriage certificate is agony. You're too filthy for me now. You have 3 days, walk away penniless or fight me in court, your call. After he left I realized my whole body was slick with cold sweat. I'd been betting that, rotten as he is, Julian still has a bottom line. If he were truly diabolical, the second he saw the penniless clause he would have struck back. Chase arrived 15 minutes later. He barged in, scanning me for injuries. Only when he saw I was intact did he collapse on the couch, gasping, How dare you open that door alone? If he'd decided to go down swinging he could have killed you. Knowing I'd been reckless, I let him scold me without a peep. When he ran out of words and saw me still meekly staring at my shoes, he sighed. If the tail on Mia hadn't called to say she'd climbed into some guy's car, I'd have been here even later. Was it Derek? Did you call the police? Reading my mind, he didn't keep me hanging. I went to check, it wasn't him. Mia got in willingly, she knows the driver. Since she wasn't in danger, I dropped it and started recounting my showdown with Julian. Halfway through, Chase's phone rang. He listened for 2 seconds, then snapped his eyes to me. Julian's been hit. Derek ran him over. It happened 2 blocks from the precinct. Derek panicked, plowed into a tree, and is out cold. The moment Chase stopped speaking my own phone buzzed. The caller ID said Eastbrook Police. At the hospital we found Eleanor sobbing outside the trauma bay. A waiting officer stepped up the second he spotted me. Ms. Vance, we need your cooperation. When he learned Julian had been targeted months ago, he glanced at me. I gave him a straight account of the original stabbing. He warned me to watch my back. Mia arrived after Julian was wheeled out of surgery. Eleanor turned on her instantly. You're carrying my grandchild, why aren't you home? No one could reach you. My son almost died. While berating Mia, she shot me a sidelong glare, thinking the silent treatment would wound me. I felt nothing but relief. I'd already decided to leave. Eleanor blocked my path. Go pay the hospital bill and wire me money. I need to buy proper food to build Ayao's strength back up. Before Mia surfaced, Eleanor merely disliked me. Now that she has a grandson on the way and knows Julian plans to divorce, she can't even be bothered to fake civility. Your future daughter-in-law is right there. Ask her for cash, why me? Eleanor choked on my reply, face purple. Stop yapping. Until the divorce is final, your avance. That's my son in that bed. You won't nurse him, fine, but you will foot the bill. Don't even think of walking out. Eleanor's education never advanced past middle school. Her vocabulary is as coarse as her manners. She thought a few harsh words would scare me. Speak up, louder, so everyone can hear that your son cheated while we were married. Eleanor glanced around, realized no one was watching, and swung at me. I caught her wrist and whispered, I told you, don't push me. If I'm unhappy, I'll drag your whole family down with me, including whatever's in Mia's belly. My stare froze her. I flung her hand away. She stumbled and had to brace herself against the wall. On the ride home, Chase said, Derek's awake. He gave up the guy who hired him. The cops already have him. I exhaled in relief. I hadn't been the target, but knowing the attacker was off the streets still quieted the fear. As soon as Julian regains consciousness, I'll bring the divorce papers for him to sign. That was why I'd hurried to the hospital. I was terrified Julian might die. I had zero interest in becoming his widow. After the divorce, tell him to take Mia back to the hospital for another checkup. It took me a moment to catch Chase's drift. The baby isn't Julian's? Ellis, they did an amnio, it still could be his. I meant he and Mia should screen for STDs. Before Julian, Mia's private life was a mess. She delayed her first prenatal visit so she could squeeze in one last fling with an ex. The gossip bomb left me speechless. The next day, sure Eleanor was away, I walked into Julian's room with the divorce file. His injuries were minor. He greeted me with an automatic smile. Once Mia was sent on an errand, I pulled the papers from my purse without preamble. Police say the driver who hit you is the same man who stabbed me. Sign, before your garbage gets me hurt again. The smile cracked. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. Save it. I won't forgive you. Money can be replaced, a court battle will end you. He knew I was right. After a long silence he signed. I asked your doctor, you're discharged the day after tomorrow. 2 p.m. sharp, City Hall steps. Julian showed up on time. He tried to speak before we walked in. I didn't give him the chance. The paperwork flew by. Only the 30-day wait for the final decree irked me. Before that certificate is issued, every asset better be in my name. I turned to leave. Julian called after me. Serena, you don't even want Vance? The firm still belonged to him. The agreement only forced him to buy me out at market value. My corner office is occupied, the staff's been bribed, why would I stay? Letting go hurt, I'd built the place from nothing, but my well-being mattered more. If the firm disgusted me, I was done. Julian clearly hadn't told Eleanor we'd filed, because she kept texting, cash demands, invitations to help with Mia, so I could bond with the Vance heir, she claimed. I ignored every message and laughed them off. The day before the decree came through, Julian's last property transferred to me. I double-checked the list, and the knot in my chest finally loosened. At 10 the next morning I waited on the City Hall steps. Julian looked haggard, probably broke. I wore a red dress, hair in fresh waves, feeling invincible. The moment the clerk stamped our divorce certificate, I snapped a photo and posted it to Instagram. Eleanor rang. I blocked every Vance number while Julian watched. When I slipped the phone away, he gave a bitter smile. Serena, leaving me makes you that happy? I looked at him one last time. Thrilled. Who wouldn't celebrate escaping trash? Since I'm in a good mood, here's a parting gift. I handed him a manila envelope. Open it at home. From here on, we're strangers. When Chase asked what I planned next, I thought a minute. There's nothing left for me here. I want a fresh start in a new city. Chase made a serious pitch. I'm opening a new branch office in Seaside. Come with me? Familiar faces make life easier, and I've always loved the ocean. I agreed in seconds. Sure. I hear the air's good for early retirement. A month later, while I hunted for office space in Seaside, Chase sent a video. Julian and Mia were screaming in the OBGYN corridor. I maxed the volume. If I'd known how filthy you are, I'd never have helped you. You're sorry now? I'm carrying your baby, whether you claim it or not. Eleanor won't disown her grandchild. Eleanor barged in, slapped Mia, then yanked her by the hair. I'll kill you, Vixen. You ruined my son, he's divorced and bankrupt, and you dare yell at him? Mia slipped, crashing to the floor. Blood pooled beneath her. Eleanor sobbed and cackled while Julian stood frozen. During the renovation of my new firm, Chase dropped by with fresh gossip. After Mia lost the baby, she refused to leave Julian's condo. When he dragged her out, her head hit the wall. Cops arrested him, then an anonymous tip about bribery surfaced. I'd debated exposing him myself, but decided a clean break was healthier. I'd filed Chase's evidence away, only for someone else to leak it. On opening day, a floral wreath arrived, tag reading simply Vance. Inside the ribbon, an envelope in Julian's handwriting. To keep him out of prison, Walter and Eleanor had sold the marital penthouse to pay the penalty fine. Julian lost his license, staff quit. By the time he left county lockup, Vance was an empty suite. He closed the doors and moved back to his hometown. The letter, mailed from there, held only a few lines. Serena, every highlight of my life was tied to you. I believed we'd grow old together. I destroyed it. I'm exactly where I deserve to be. Knowing you've started over makes me glad. I'm too ashamed to face you, so I'll say it here, I'm sorry. I never saw that ending coming. I did feel a pang, but I still burned the letter and flushed the ashes. Julian, and every memory he carried, good or bad, belonged to the past. From now on, I live for myself. Thanks for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you liked it, hit like and share. Tell us your thoughts in the comments, subscribe for more tales, and see you next time. 5 years with Sebastian, and he told me he was bored, then turned around for a dewy 18-year-old who looked as fresh as a newly opened rose. This time I didn't throw a tantrum. I simply cut up the wedding gown I'd been saving, and left on the trip I'd always talked about taking. Everyone started laying bets on how long my little rebellion would last. Sebastian smiled, cold and careless. She actually thinks if she comes crawling back, I'll still want her? Days slipped by until, for the first time, Sebastian felt something missing. He dialed my number. Serena, how much longer are you going to sulk? A low male laugh answered. Mr. Sterling, 1 day of silence equals a breakup. Surely you know the rule. Ice gathered in Sebastian's lowered eyes. Put Serena on. Now. Ethan brushed a kiss against the corner of my mouth. Let it go. The night is young and priceless, surely you understand, Mr. Sterling. It was the 5th year with Sebastian. I thought we were finally settling down. After all, I was the first girlfriend he'd kept for more than 3 years. He used to say whoever stayed with him past 3, he'd marry. So I'd prepared that wedding gown for ages. That night, his birthday party, I was delayed downstairs finding a parking space. When I stepped into the private lounge, everyone was already there, the mood warm and loud. You mean Serena? Sebastian's voice drifted through the half-open door. He had a cigarette lit, the room dim, only the lower half of his flawless face showing, indifferent. Already bored, my raised hand froze midair. Someone fanned the flames. Can't blame you, 5 years, man. Way past the 3-year mark. But Serena's gorgeous. Tiny waist, great curves, face like sunshine, and she actually cares. What's not to like? Back then you chased her so hard the whole city watched. Now you're just bored? Sebastian leaned forward, exhaling a slow ring of smoke. 5 years. Wouldn't you be sick of it? I wouldn't. Sebastian's narrow phoenix eyes lifted, lips curling. Then go for her, if you can catch her. Come on. Everyone knows Serena's crazy in love with you. They all laughed it off as a joke. I stood outside, slowly pulling my hand back. Later, when I said my car had broken down, he didn't question it. That was the moment I decided on the breakup. Within days the rumor mill spun. Sebastian had a new girl, 18, innocent, sweet, the works. He never spared cash when chasing skirts. Cars and jewels rained down, and the teenager caved in 2 days flat. At a friend's end-of-month finally single dinner, Sebastian actually brought her. Silence dropped like a curtain when they walked in, eyes darted between the new girl and me. I swirled the cocktail I'd just mixed and smiled. Why are you staring at me? Sebastian sat across from me with his newest conquest curled against him, gaze locked on mine. Serena, let's break up. I'd expected it, but not this soon. Okay. Surprise flickered in his eyes, he kept studying me. We can still be friends. If you ever need anything, let's not. I kept smiling. Clean ending, no misunderstandings. At the word misunderstandings, the girl in his arms widened her bright eyes and timidly pressed her red lips together like a fledgling bird. Sebastian's sharp gaze narrowed, a blade-thin smile curving. Considerate as ever, sticky liquor coated my fingers, nausea clawed at my throat. I'm not feeling great. You guys enjoy, I'll head out. I'll have someone drive you. No need, plenty of rides downstairs. I walked out calm and straight. Behind me the room exploded. They're really done? No way, Serena always caves. It's a tactic, watch and see. She looked pretty chill to me. Maybe she's actually hurt. Impossible. Serena can't live without Sebastian. Exactly. 2 days tops and she'll beg for forgiveness. Sebastian watched the door swing shut, smirking. She thinks I'll take her back when she returns? A hard knot lodged in my chest. I clenched my fists and kept walking. Back home, I went to the walk-in closet and stared at the wedding gown I'd treasured for so long. So it had all been my own illusion. I laughed at myself, then seized the dress and tore. Layers of white tulle ripped apart until the skirt was shredded, red marks ridged my palms. Only then did I sink to the floor. Before I left, I took one last look at the apartment I'd lived in for 2 years. I'd thought it would be our love nest. I'd been wrong. Everything here had been bought by Sebastian. Naive me once believed what was his was mine. I booked the dawn flight to Westlake. No special reason, that hour simply had seats available. A getaway deserves the very best. With nothing to do that evening, I changed into a brand new crimson gown, strapless, body skimming, neckline plunging. Soft waves tumbled to the small of my back, lips painted fierce scarlet. I looked every inch the blooming rose. May I buy you a drink? A polished professional approached, decent looking in that hedge fund way. I lifted an eyebrow, chin tilted in elegant permission, and smiled. Of course. Delight flooded his face. He slid onto the stool beside me. We talked, we bantered, the air fizzy with possibility. Mid-laugh, a large warm hand closed over my shoulder. Serena? I looked up, strangely familiar, ridiculously handsome. Strong brows, deep eyes, cut jaw wrapped in a flawlessly tailored suit. Confirmation flashed across his face, fingers tightened in a grip that felt oddly possessive. Long time, old classmate. Who exactly? Before I could speak, he'd sent my admirer packing with 2 clipped words. I opened my mouth, then closed it. Ethan, he supplied. Right, the legend from the college next door, the other half of the notorious pair with Sebastian. I used to bump into him when I visited campus. Never expected him to remember me. What brings you here alone? I sipped the cocktail my previous companion had ordered, something called a pomegranate martini, sweet tart, easy going down. As I reached for a second taste, the glass disappeared from my hand. Strong stuff, he said, signaling the bartender for something else. I stared at my suddenly empty fingers, my fresh manicure glowed crimson. Alcohol is alcohol, adults know the drill, and I'd seen enough hungry eyes to recognize the pattern. Just out for fun, I answered, propping my chin in one hand. Not with Sebastian? Of course he had to go there. Split, I said, flicking my hair back, smile bright and brittle. Maybe it looked as fake as it felt. Ethan's brows drew together for a heartbeat. Sorry, I shrugged. It's nothing. The penalty for drinking too much is that the room spins when you stand up. Whoa, if Ethan hadn't caught my elbow, I would have faceplanted. Inside the elevator, some unidentifiable stench clung to the walls, nauseating. Ethan's agarwood cologne, on the other hand, smelled incredible. I inhaled twice, desperate not to puke. By the time we reached the door of the penthouse suite, heat was prickling under my skin. Go on in. Ethan behaved like a perfect gentleman, poised, refined. I meant to thank him, but what slipped out was, want to come in for a minute. Something inside me yearned to lose control, to vent every bottled-up emotion. For a heartbeat his eyes turned midnight dark, an ink-black swirl that looked ready to devour me. He swiped the key card for me. You're drunk. I leaned my head against his shoulder, hair grazing the back of his hand, and surveyed the shadowy room. Can't you perform? I slurred, lids half-masked. Ah. His kiss crashed over me, a sudden deluge. The dizziness doubled, I could barely keep up with a reckless tempo. When I finally felt the mattress at my back, my dress was already twisted and half unzipped. Serena, you can still back out, he warned. My head whirled, through the haze I muttered, then move your hand off my chest first. Ethan laughed softly, bent down to brush my lips, and declared, "Nope." I rolled my eyes so hard I almost saw my brain. Who would have guessed? The towering, invincible Ethan's opening round lasted exactly 3 minutes. By now the alcohol had worn off. My winged eyeliner made my gaze look twice as sultry. I opened my mouth to say something comforting. Before a syllable escaped, mortified, he pinned me again. MMPH, no. 3 minutes, let me go. Big miscalculation. 3 minutes morphed into 3 hours. Enough, enough, I kept pleading. My lower back was about to snap. I came here to hunt, not to die. The instant my pale, slender fingers crept toward the edge of the bed, he yanked them back. After several shameless days and nights with him, I discovered Ethan's secret: icy surface, molten lava underneath. Example: we went out for dinner. The waiter was a college sophomore radiating puppy energy. Compact build, dimpled grin, catnip to anyone with a pulse. I've always had a soft spot for softies. When someone smiles at me, I smile back. Ethan still had work emails, so I didn't disturb him, just snuck a couple of extra glances at the cute waiter. Result: the second we stepped out of the lift back at the hotel, he slammed me against the wall and kissed me breathless. What happened once we were inside the room was even worse, or better. He ground against me until I wanted to punch someone out of sheer delirium. After the fireworks, I lay on my stomach scrolling through my phone. My friends hadn't seen me for days and were probably concocting consolatory speeches. "Serena, when are you coming back?" "Not ready yet. We miss you." "Stacy and Leo are celebrating their first anniversary next week. Come home early?" "Pass. I've got stuff going on." "Send them my love." "Okay, stay safe, have fun." Across the private lounge, my friends exchanged looks. Finally one of Sebastian's closer buddies spoke up. "Sebastian, why don't you call her? She always listens to you." "Yeah, totally. One call and Serena will be on the next flight back." Sebastian stubbed out his cigarette, face stormy. "Let her stay lost." The others kept trying. "Come on, man. She must be hurting. She didn't even tell us her itinerary, she's devastated. Bringing the new teen girlfriend to the same party was brutal. Shoot, ancient history, whatever." He flaunted it, now he's shocked she's pissed. Crash! A whiskey glass shattered against the floor. Sebastian's temper snapped. "No one contacts her. Not a text, not a like, got it?" His face was chalk white, fists clamped against his stomach. "Yo, Sebastian, is your gastritis acting up again? You should hit the ER." Sebastian had developed the stomach trouble back in boarding school: irregular meals, too much scotch. Serena used to fret over him like a private nurse. Lately, back-to-back nights of schmoozing had stirred the beast awake again. Night wind whistled through the terrace doors, cold sweat glued his shirt to his spine. Rage churned inside him. Serena had guts, vanishing without a goodbye. Years together and she still pulled disappearing acts. This time he swore he'd let her stew. "What are you staring at?" A warm body draped itself over my back. I sucked in air and shoved at him with my shoulder. "You're crushing me, you elephant." He really had zero concept of his own weight. Ethan only snuggled closer, lifted my phone to the nightstand, and started planting kisses below my left ear while drawing idle circles on my shoulder, heading south fast. I trapped his wandering fingers, whining, "No more, no more." He answered with a trail of tiny bites down my neck, a low warning rumble. "Planning to sneak back to Westlake?" I shook my head so hard my hair flew everywhere. "No, no, no," as if I'd dare leave without the king's permission. But flattery bought no mercy. Ethan slid inside me before I could finish the thought. My unprepared body arched like a bow. A few deep, deliberate strokes and I was done for. "Hey, MMPH, learn some chivalry, man." The bed rocked, lights blazing well past midnight. When I finally ran out of strength, Ethan carried me to the bath like a rag doll. Half asleep, I thought I heard him murmur, "Move to Westlake for good? Where to tonight?" Ethan called while I finalized details with a client. Art major, brush in hand since kindergarten, I drifted into game illustration. Talent plus hustle equals a tidy bank balance. "Your pick," I said, closing the chat and watching the sunset paint the skyline. Peace at last, my jittery heart was settling. His voice sounded light, he must be in a playful mood. "Sorry, whatever you want isn't on the menu." I laughed, spotting a sign across the street. "Hot Pot Diner it is." It had been ages. Sebastian's fragile stomach demanded bland food. Over time I'd quit spicy cuisine altogether and even learned gourmet cooking to baby him. "I'll pick you up in 20, Ethan said. "K." I hung up, already tasting chilies and tongue-numbing peppercorn. The place was packed, only seats left were in the main hall. Ethan frowned at the hostess. I elbowed him, teasing, "Your Royal Highness, rough it for once." The moment the words left my mouth, he tugged me sideways. Right behind us, a waiter hurried past balancing a cauldron of scarlet broth. "Thought you hated noise?" he asked. "Noise? I need quiet when I work, otherwise I'm fine." Where did he get that intel? We sat opposite each other amid faux decor. The place was popular, hygiene SOSO. Ethan the perfectionist wiped the table, rinsed our bowls, sterilized chopsticks. When he finally handed me my soda, I sighed. Some lucky girl's going to marry the jackpot. Handsome, loaded, considerate, and zero snob factor. Compare that to Sebastian, hypochondriac, volcanic temper, pampered prince syndrome. Back then I was too deep in the maze to see the walls. Thinking it over now, I suddenly feel I deserved it. If you don't love yourself, how can you expect anyone else to love you? Ethan started blanching vegetables with practiced ease, a flicker of amusement in his eyes. "Then I'll thank you on her behalf." Think nothing of it. Biting into a garlicky spare rib, I remembered something. "Did you break up with your college girlfriend?" I couldn't help asking. If he still had a girlfriend and was out here with me, he deserved to be thrown in the river. He fished the just-cooked tripe into my bowl, half accusing, half teasing. "Where did you hear I had a girlfriend?" I spat out the bone. "Wasn't there always that girl hanging around you?" "It was Sebastian who told me, said they were childhood friends, hinted there'd once been something." Ethan studied me for a moment. "You were watching me back then?" "Wasn't that beside the point?" Before I could retort, he explained, "Family friend. No spark. She's getting married soon." "Oh." I crunched the tender tripe, feeling like an idiot. After I finished it, he added a sheet of beef stomach. I hadn't eaten this in ages. It was spicy. I took a sip of juice. "So, did you date anyone after that?" Tonight Ethan wore a dark shirt, sleeves rolled up, revealing lean forearms. He had beautiful hands, clean joints, long fingers, strong, and right now one of them was poaching shrimp paste for me. "I met a few people. Nothing fit." He said it casually, I heard it as a jumble. "So after that, no one." He gave a slight nod. I bit into the next slice, and my brain suddenly lit up. 3-minute round? Ahem. I inhaled too fast and choked. Ethan hurried over to pat my back, opened a bottle of water, and held it to my lips. After a lot of coughing I swallowed, stunned by a brand new fact. I didn't even know what face to wear. I'm your first woman?" Ethan's expression stayed calm, but his ears went crimson. He dipped his head, then added as if making a vow, "From now on, never again." "Never again what?" Not until after dinner, when we'd strolled hand in hand back to the penthouse suite, did I discover Ethan's wild side. He nearly ruined me. "Serena, was I amazing? Damn, how did he know my pet name?" When I didn't answer, his movements grew rougher, zeroing in on every sensitive spot. From bathroom to windowsill, to living room sofa, and finally back to the bed. I was so spent even breathing felt like labor. At the end he whispered against my ear, "So you have to take responsibility for me." For Stacy and Leo's first anniversary I mailed a gift. Leo was fine, Sebastian's buddy, so we kept contact minimal. His girlfriend Stacy, though, kept nagging me. Just send it and be done, I figured. Ethan helped pick it out. I tend toward loud, bright colors, which don't suit most people. He chose a safe pair, interlocking gold rings, intricate, ostentatious, very him. Stacy tore the wrap and immediately shoved the box at Leo. Leo turned the rings over, gave a dry laugh. Nice. Sebastian smoked alone, aura so heavy no one dared approach. Everyone thought the moment would pass. Instead he started pouring wine, glass after glass. The group panicked and tried to stop him. "What's wrong? Happy as you are, you can't drink like this." Host Leo joined in. "Your stomach's a mess. If Serena comes back and sees this, she'll be heartbroken." "Right, she's always cared about you. Drink like that and she'll cry." Sebastian let out a cold laugh. "Heartbroken? Cares?" No one had seen him like this, even the hand holding the cigarette trembled. Afraid something might happen, Leo stealth-dialed Serena and hit speaker. The tone clicked. "Hey, Leo." Serena's voice was unmistakable, clear, cool, with a hint of softness. "Serena," Leo answered, eyes on Sebastian. Seeing him look over, Leo sensed hope. "When are you coming back? Everyone misses you like crazy." "Me?" She even chuckled, sounding upbeat. "Not for a while. New job needs field work, I'm going to Rome." "Rome?" Leo screamed inside, "Your man is losing it here." With you gone, Sebastian swamped and drinking every night. His stomach already landed him in hospital. Leo rattled on, but the line stayed silent. He thought she'd hung up. Serena, you still there? Come back, jobs can wait, Sebastian's health can't. When you were around, none of this happened, Leo. She cut him off. Yeah? You've thought it through. I knew it, you love Sebastian, can't let go. Couples fight, break up, make up, it's normal. He was ready to spill his whole heart, but she said, don't update me about him anymore. And nothing trumps work, especially not some man. Serena? Leo's brain froze, she was dead serious. Oh, and congratulations to you and Stacy, may you last forever. The call beeped dead. The private lounge fell tune quiet. Sebastian's smile turned vicious as he stubbed out his cigarette. Serena, nicely done. He grabbed his coat and slammed the door. Once he left, whispers exploded, she's really walking away. No way, they were crazy in love. Love doesn't count when you wreck it. 5 years, man, how many of those do we get? Good for her. I care isn't a license to hurt me. The moment I hung up, Ethan pressed against me, big head nuzzling my neck. What are you doing? Will you go back? Back where? Westlake. Not for now. He kissed me, urgent. I turned sideways. Stop it. He chased my lips anyway. After the tussle I lay limp in his arms, about to drift off when he shook me awake. You won't get back with Sebastian? I opened my eyes. No. He dotted kisses over my face. I believe you. My cheek rested on his chest. Ethan, I still have pride. Skin, dignity, same package. He squeezed my shoulder. Then will you be with me? My body stiffened. Ethan, you don't want anything serious? I just don't dare trust yet. 5 years of giving everything had left me without armor. I'll wait until you're ready. My heart ached. Ethan, you don't have to. He silenced me with a kiss. Do you still love him? I shook my head. I thought I couldn't live without him, but the day I left, the pain was lighter than I expected. Maybe our ending was stamped long ago. Serena, I'm not him, but I'm scared I'll fail you. You could be free, why chain yourself to me? Because you're the only one. He kissed the tear from my lashes. Serena, I'll wait for you, always, but I don't deserve devotion this deep. From that day on, I started avoiding Ethan. I checked into a different penthouse suite and started painting day and night, hoping the work would numb me. When the job was finished, emptiness and loneliness rushed in. I wandered alone through Westlake's glittering streets. The city should have felt foreign, yet because of one person it suddenly seemed familiar. Inside the bar the music was deafening. Hey, beautiful, let's hang out. Tonight I wore no makeup and only a plain loungewear set. Sorry, I'd rather be alone. I gulped a tall drink, praying the alcohol would deaden my nerves so I could sleep. But my mind flashed to the weight of his hand on my shoulder. I could still feel that heat. He'd been a flame, scorching me until I burned. Ethan, how long have they even known each other? Why does the man keep replaying in my head? Another round. I wouldn't stop until I was drunk. Before the glass reached my lips, someone sat down uninvited. He looked haggard after only a few days, unshaven, yet still unfairly handsome. This stuff is strong, but I want it. Right in front of him I tipped the glass back and drained it. Bravado has a price, my stomach protested. My head spun and my limbs turned to lead. A pair of arms pulled me into a warm chest, soft lips brushed my forehead, and a quiet voice sighed, drink, I'm here. After that, everything blurred. When I woke, bright daylight filled the room. I'd slept a full, dreamless night. Morning. Ethan tucked me against him. What would you like for breakfast? The chaos inside me settled. One bad man didn't mean I should write off myself, or everyone else. Not every man is Sebastian. I hooked my arms around his neck and whispered, want to come in for a while? Ethan's body stilled, his dark eyes turned depths darker. Yes. I leaned up and kissed him, circling his waist with both arms. Downstairs, the living room lights came on. There, the shredded wedding gown now looked untouched. Sebastian lifted a corner of the skirt. He'd always known Serena dreamed of marriage. He once joked, date me more than 3 years and I'll marry you. They'd been together 5. The gown was from 2 seasons ago, she'd started preparing long ago. He hadn't planned to part, he'd only grown restless, craving novelty. Once she was gone, nothing held flavor, every hour her ghost haunted him. Some people feel ordinary at your side until they leave and you realize their worth. The familiar ache returned. Lately he kept wondering, if she were here, would the pain stop? Sebastian, hot water bottle, hold it tight. Sebastian, your stomach, no more vodka. Sebastian, I cooked dinner, come home tonight. I told Derek to bring you hangover soup, remember to drink it. Sebastian, I love you. Sebastian, will you marry me? The silent phone rang. Sebastian. His heart lurched. Serena? No caller ID, Leo. He shut his eyes and inhaled. Sebastian. Leo. He pinched the bridge of his nose. I debated, but you need to know. What? Promise you won't explode, it might be nothing, spit it out. His stomach cramped with every breath. It's about Serena, probably just rumors. Leo. Leo gritted his teeth. How had perfection unraveled? Any city but Westlake, yet she'd chosen it. Fine, Westlake, but why tangle with Ethan? College vendetta, boardroom duels, Sebastian's and Ethan's rivalry ran bone deep. Last month's bid war had left both sides bleeding. I mean, someone spotted Serena in Westlake. Sebastian's fist pressed to his gut unclenched, something flickered and vanished. So she's in Westlake, big deal. Leo, eyes closed, spilled everything. She's with Ethan, could be just dinner, right? Old classmates, no scandal, all hearsay. Don't quote me. I'm hanging up now. The dial tone filled the apartment. Sebastian traced the wedding gown's lace. Rip, the fabric split from hem to bodice. A mocking, glacial smile carved across his face. After Serena vanished, Sebastian texted her. A driver had dropped him at the penthouse after a banquet. The cold rooms felt oxygen thin. The messages sank without echo. He assured himself she was sulking. He resented her for sulking so long. 5 years together, didn't she know him by now? Couldn't she see the razor tongue hid soft custard inside? He was a man, power-wielding, corner office. Why couldn't she bend a little, take the ladder he offered? Why make it ugly? Make him need her and then stroll away? Did she own no heart at all? Drunk, he dialed her. She ought to be asleep at this hour. He couldn't sleep. The ringback stretched. He waited. While waiting, he rehearsed. Serena, I miss you. Serena, don't leave. Yet the instant she answered, bitterness leapt first. Serena, how long are you going to throw a tantrum? Everyone's laughing at us. A low male chuckle sliced the line. That single sound froze his blood. His watch hands glowed like accusatory needles. Mr. Sterling, 1 day of silence equals breakup. Surely you knew the rule. Storm clouds gathered in Sebastian's lowered gaze. Put Serena on, now. Ethan, you fucking vulture, touch her Anne. Can't. Ethan, unbearably smug, planted a loud kiss. The night is young and priceless, surely you understand. She was his treasure. Ethics be damned, he felt zero remorse. Those who don't cherish don't deserve beauty. After our breakup I used to picture running into Sebastian again. He grew up in gilt hallways, proud, and had the resume to back it. He's the one who ended us. Still, pointless now to tally blame. The deeper Ethan and I go, the more Westlake feels like mine. At dusk he walks me to a rooftop jazz bistro to celebrate a fresh 9-figure close. I chatter like a magpie. Ethan listens as if every word is currency, tucking stray hair behind my ear. Happiness feels breathable, until the next second. Because there stands Sebastian, shirt creased, cheeks hollow, eyes blood-scorched, a Sebastian unraveled. I freeze, staring. Time seemed to stretch in that single heartbeat, first the thunderbolt of meeting, then the giddy certainty, then the slow erosion. Serena. He spoke my pet name so tenderly. So long, it had been so long the syllables felt foreign. I've come to take you home. Sebastian, can you pick me up? Sebastian, come get me, okay? Sebastian, I miss you, can you just come? Step after step he closed the distance, resolute as a groom marching to the altar. Serena, we'll marry the minute we're back. I've had the wedding gown altered, we'll be good from now on, I'll listen to every word you say. He said it with such gravity, such conviction, such raw plea, yet I felt nothing. The cool hand at my side was gripped tighter, lending me its strength. Sebastian, we've broken up. Please leave. Serena. He fought for footing. I haven't touched anyone but you. Only you. Ever. He simply couldn't swallow it. Life was long. How could he settle for one view? One mistake, that was all, and they hand him a death sentence? Unfair. I booked the penthouse suite, chosen the diamond, just nod and it's real, all of it. His voice climbed, fraying at the edges. A solitaire the size of a quail egg rested in velvet, catching the dusk, throwing rainbows. Hope, expectation, desperation, his eyes brimmed with them, begging for the girl he'd fallen for at first sight. The dream he'd rehearsed night after night had finally materialized, yet joy refused to come, because I was truly, finally letting him go. I'm sorry, Sebastian. I can't marry you. I'm already in a new relationship. I lifted the hand Ethan and I held clamped together. Sebastian's face drained of color, his gaze sliding slowly until it landed on the radiant smile he once owned. Serena, are you serious? I drew a steadying breath and folded my other hand over our joined fists. Whatever waited ahead, I had no regrets now. Yes. Dead serious. A low laugh rattled in Sebastian's throat, scorn glittering in his eyes. You think he means a single word? You think a single artery of his heart is sincere? From freshman year the guy's been chasing me, racing me and everything. Now he's chasing you. Serena, tell me there's no score to settle. Still so naive. 5 years we lived side by side. Do you honestly believe he doesn't care? Isn't tallying every day? One lousy cliche of a mistake, but I love you. Can you swear he'll be faithful, that he'll never betray you? Serena, aren't you terrified of rerunning the same horror film? Autumn came late to Westlake, yet a sudden wind scraped along my skin and turned my blood to ice. Until today I'd told myself I'd simply met the wrong man, the relationship failed, but at least I had tried. Now the whole chapter looked absurd. I had bartered 5 priceless years for excuses and buck-passing. Once I'd thought him flawless, marveled at my luck in meeting him. With the love filter shattered, I saw the real man. The haze that had cloaked my heart lifted. Under sunlight the invisible chain dissolved. I should have felt liberated, yet my eyes burned, relief that I'd finally seen, grief for the affection I'd poured down a drain. Serena. Ethan folded me against his chest. Easy, I've got you. I burrowed into the warm broad wall of him. Ethan, let's really try, seriously try, deal. He pinched my waist in mock offense. So all these nights I was used for free? He pressed a solemn kiss to my crown. Serena, Ethan, act with a clean conscience. If you're willing to believe, I swear you'll never regret it. Regret? I don't want promises, love is built day by day. If one day we can't go on, it'll mean we didn't cultivate it deep enough. Our unguarded closeness detonated Sebastian. He had already scraped his pride off the pavement to win me back, yet the result shot in the opposite direction. Ethan, you've wanted to poach my girl since college, finally slept the woman who was mine for 5 years. How's the taste, loser? Serena, you pick my business rival to spite me? If you two aren't disgusted, I am. Ethan, runner-up, so what if you wrote a love letter? I still won. Serena, jumping into another bed the minute we split, never noticed how cheap you could be. Ethan's fist crashed into Sebastian's sneering face. Sebastian's rage flared, he lunged and fought back. They traded blows, bruises blooming. Bystanders and security wrestled them apart. I hugged Ethan, trembling. Enough, enough. Serena. Battle light still flared in his eyes, fixed on Sebastian's bloody grin. Sebastian's face was swelling, yet he smiled, licking the blood on his knuckles. I was shaking so hard my voice cracked. Let's go, please, I'm scared. I never wanted to see that man again. My sobs loosened Ethan's clenched jaw, he curved an arm around my back and kissed my ear. All right. The triumph on Sebastian's face drained away, he knew the door had slammed shut. 5 years he'd assumed he stood on the upper rung, steering everything. Then the day arrived when Serena would not come back. Panic, regret, he fumbled, chose the wrong weapons, and blew the last bridge. The sunset stretched their shadows, the slim figure walked on, vanished, erased herself from his world. We'd planned dinner, but after the uproar we drove straight to the hospital for quick bandages. Ethan held me the whole time, sensing the tremor in him. I laced our fingers. Serena, we will never break up. I rose on tiptoe and brushed his cheek. Show me, don't tell me. Something dark and hungry flashed in his eyes, his hands at my waist turned restless. I heard you wrote me a love letter. Yeah, but I only ever got one. I whipped around, eyes rounding. You wrote it? Ethan looked like he wanted to deny, then gave a reluctant nod. My heart pinched, I'd always assumed it was Sebastian. I pinched the hard muscle of his arm. Then why the scowl the first time you saw me? I'd thought he disliked me on sight. Did I scowl? You did. I was certain. He wouldn't say, but I hounded until he bent, kissing me lightly. Your dress was tucked into your underwear, and you didn't tell me. I wanted to die. Picture me sashaying across the room, bare but on parade. My skies, my earth, my dignity. Relax. Ethan began unbuttoning my top. I fixed it for you. After a devouring kiss he murmured, no one saw except me. We tumbled together. The road is long, and our story is longer. Thanks for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate tonight's tale? If you liked it, hit like and share with friends. We can't wait to read your comments. Subscribe for more stories. See you next time.